Khan wrote, "There is a greater darkness than the one we fight. It is the darkness of the soul that has lost its way. The war we fight is not against powers and principalities. It is against chaos and despair."
Repeat, they're coming through! This is Earth Alliance Station Babylon 5. They're all over the place! When the lightning starts flashing, there'll be no hiding place.
If you go to Zahadu, you will die.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coming of Shadows, the Babylon 5 Retrospective, Season 2. This week on the show, it's episode 22, the final episode of Season 2, the big reveal. Everyone's super anticipating it. They're all excited. There's 13 of you in here right now. Great start out. That's awesome. That's what it says on my little thing. Yes, and greetings from the Narn delegation too as well. We appreciate that, even though they're in hiding right now. But before we get started, let me welcome my co-host, the man who is my angel. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone.
I have to be nicer to Cam. He's been feeling a little upset with me lately, so I'm trying to be a little nicer.
Oh,
all right.
How kind.
So, yeah, we want to keep him on the show. Don't want to piss him off too much. All right. Before we get started, Cam, and bring in our hosts, do you have anything administrative wise to go over?
No, we'll save that any announcements till the end, I think. But I did notice that there are 645 subscribers, so inching along.
They are just it's leaps and bounds. 2 more since last time. Wow, we are just screaming up the charts there.
Yeah, this is
Right
a
on.
spike in growth for.
I know it's
channel.
crazy. I think we should mention mention what's coming up anyway on the Babylon 5 just at the beginning, and we'll hit it at the end too.
Okay.
So this week, of course, is the finale, talking about the final episode, and just talking to to our co-panelists, guests, and regulars. They got a lot to talk about, so strap yourself in. This might be a long show. We'll try to keep it moving, of course. But next week on the show is the wrap-up for Season 2. We're going to get all together. We're going to talk about the whole season. We're going to talk about I'm going to get our various guest panelists. We're going to try to have them pop in at some time during the show and give their thoughts as well. It should be a really big show. It was a big show last year, really popular when we did the wrap-up. And after that, the week after that, just so everyone knows, Americans are having Thanksgiving. I don't know why you guys have it so late, but anyway, it's Thanksgiving, so it's on a Wednesday right before Thanksgiving. We're kind of like, is it 2? Maybe it's not a good time to start Season 3. So we're going to wait and do Season 3 the week after. We're going to have a call-in show where people can come in and talk about about Season 1 and Season 2 in general, about Babylon 5, whatever. We're going to try to avoid spoilers, that kind of thing. But we figured we'd have a call-in show, try something different, see how it goes. So mark your calendars. All right, that's what's going on in Babylon 5. Let's see. Thank you for Weatherman for 2 NZDs. I think that's New Zealand dollars. Appreciate that, Weatherman. I didn't know you were in New Zealand, or you just do everything in New Zealand dollars. Dollars, I mean. Daughters. Whoops, slip of the tongue there. I appreciate that. Thanks for the super chat, and everyone. So we are open for super chats if you want to send it to and support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. And of course, anything embarrassing to Cam will read out loud. So within reason. We're not gonna nothing racist or anything like that, but within reason. We'll have Cam read it out. All right. So I think that's about everything we need. Cam, shall we jump into we'll bring in our guests?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me just, let's bring in, let's bring in our special guest, Madman, and our regular co-panelist, Jeff, Death's Angel Shadow. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You guys are anticipating the show? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everyone's telling me that this is good. I
don't know. We'll see. We'll see how we feel about it.
Why is it in science fiction when they say we're going to make it peace? It's not, all hell breaks loose right after it.
It's the Jakar curse.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. There's some pretty obvious anti and non-peace stuff in there. All right. Okay. Let's see. What shall we? I need to pull up the. Trivia. Jump right into last week's trivia.
Yeah.
Let's do it, and then we can get right into it. Jeff, can you do a little
a song, a dance,
a little message?
Can I do a little what?
Send a little message.
To who?
Jason.
Oh. Yeah.
Thanks for me. All right. Appreciate that. Let me put this over here, and let's look at the last week's trivia questions. So trivia questions from last week. What is Mr. Chase's occupation? What is the Inquisitor's means of punishing Delin, who first comes to try to rescue Delin? To whom is the following quote spoken? Dead, 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 dead. What is the last word spoken by the Inquisitor in the episode? And your answers, of course. Mr. Chase is a weapons dealer, obviously. He's selling weapons. The Inquisitor has some pain givers, which she makes her put on, like they're like bracelets. Lanier first comes to try and rescue Delin, and then goes to Sheridan to do it. And of course, that should be 4. Veer, Jakar, speaks to him in the elevator and says, "Dead, dead, dead," while he pokes himself and drips blood on the floor. Not very hygienic.
Dead,
And
dead, dead.
The last word spoken by the Inquisitor, of course, is Jack, saying that he is Jack the Ripper is what we're supposed to get out of that, I think. So, yeah, all right. And let's bring in Jason.
There he is.
Welcome.
Hey.
Hey.
Did you get my message?
What message? I don't know. I'm behind on so many different things here. Hang on. I just wrapped up.
Oh, like an after chat with your guest?
No. I got done with Larry, and then I had to take care of a medical thing with Mindy, and then James got home, and he had an idea to fix Doctor Who. So
so he had to tell you about it.
I didn't get a message. Now, where am I supposed to be looking for a message from you?
Don't worry. It was just to say, hey, you coming on?
Oh,
Yeah, that's pretty much what I sent.
Yeah, I am.
All right.
Well, thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it.
You didn't
Give
miss
me a
any of the
minute.
meat.
Hold on.
We're ready to just get rolling.
Well,
Perfect time.
Snobs talking. I know I got time.
You always we got a little bit of a 10-minute
Shots fired.
Make sure everybody gets.
Yeah. By the way, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good.
All right,
Because
so-
we're not using EV Mux. Thank you.
All right, so let's see a quick hello to everyone in the chat. Dean's in the chat. Hey, Dean, good to see you.
He's a pretty
Who
regular
else?
co-panelist. Let's see who else.
Yeah, it's one of our semi-regulars. Weatherman's in the chat.
From
What
New
else?
Zealand.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I wasn't aware that Weatherman's from New
Yeah,
Zealand,
it's
but yeah,
it's his
fair enough.
VPN. His VPN's got him in New Zealand.
Oh, all right.
I think it's funny
oh.
because it affected the super chat amount. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it must have it's part of the algorithm where it detects what country that your IP address is, and
Yeah.
that's how it determines.
Jeanette Buffington, of course. Good to see you. Jeanette Hoot Owl. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Dave is in the chat.
PB?
Who else? PB. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
PB's are one of our regulars. Good to see you. Of course. Yeah, it's good. Did I miss anyone? I'm just scooting down here. I think I got everyone.
I think
And-
you
and
hit
unnamed-
everybody.
Unnamed lurkers.
Unnamed lurkers. That's fine. You can lurk. It's great.
Yeah.
But lurker in the down below, as we call them, right?
Yep.
Right on. Okay, gentlemen, I guess I think this is going to be a pretty good episode. I think everyone's keen to get talking. So, Cam, let's do the quick, and I'll try to go through the detailed as quickly as possible as well. We'll get right to the meat of it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, episode 22, season 2, episode 44 overall, The Fall of Night, written by J. Michael Straczynski, original air date November 1st, 1995, and production 222. So right in order with the air date. Okay, the command staff are caught between a rock and a hard place when Sheridan agrees to give sanctuary to a Narn warship, while Earth Force attempts to placate the increasingly aggressive Centauri Republic. The Night Watch begins to expand their influence on the station.
All right. So the episode starts off with fighter practice going off in space just off Babylon 5, and Kefir getting raked over the coals by Sheridan for some poor fighter piloting. We see a little nice incident with Lanier and Veer talking, complaining about their respective bosses to each other, and they say same time tomorrow. So I'm sure we'll want to be talking about that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And then we have Sheridan and Ivanova telling Sheridan, "Hey, you need to come in. Some people want to talk to you." We find out it's the Pak Mara and the Drazi, and they both tell Sheridan that they've been some of their two of their minor colonies, outer colonies, have been attacked and taken over by the Centauri. And they say, "Hey, maybe the Centauri are coming after Earth next." And that is the opening, and we go just right prior to the intro. So it's setting the stage for the episode. In the episode, we have I'm just gonna go through this in somewhat
Brief.
Somewhat chronological order as opposed to breaking it down. We have Sheridan and talking with Sheridan confronts Londo about the invasion. They have a heated discussion. Londo kind of gets his back up at the end. Garibaldi, then we go to Garibaldi explaining to Sheridan about Londo and basically saying that he thinks he's afraid. And the guys from the Ministry of Peace arrive, and the command staff, Sheridan, is hopeful that, hey, they're going to solve this Centauri problem. Keffer finds a little bit more information about this hyperspace ghost that he's been chasing. He's got one of the other squadrons has some info. He goes to them and he gathers that information from them. Something about neutrinos, I think. And then we have the guys from the Ministry of Peace arriving. They tell them that they're there to gather info for Earth to make some sort of decision and deal with the problem. It's obvious that Sheridan thinks that is gonna mean maybe confronting the Centauri. As well, this time a Narn cruiser arrives on the far side of the planet, secret, and requests sanctuary. They've been running from the Centauri for a while. Meanwhile, the other half of the team from Earth, Wells, Lance is the first guy. Wells is the other guy. He is there to talk about the Night Watch and check on the Night Watch. He attempts to recruit Ivanova, and she basically tells him no. And not so many words, a little more words, and a little more forceful than that. As well, Sheridan tells Jakar that, hey, there's a ship hiding on the other side of the planet. It's one of yours. And Jakar's pretty excited about that. We have a scene with Wells in the Night Watch, and he's talking to all his Night Watch people, and he's giving Zach, the one of the security guys who's we've seen earlier in other episodes saying, yeah, they're paying me more money to be on this Night Watch thing. I don't really care about it that much, but whatever. Giving him the gears, and they kind of twist his arm a little bit and gets him to say that, hey, yeah, I guess I did hear this local merchant saying some things about he's pissed off about some new government rules that came in. Meanwhile, we find out the Sheridan thinking that the Earth is here to sort of stop this Centauri aggression. He finds out that they are going to actually set up a non-aggression pact with the Centauri, and they avoid Jakar. Somehow, the information about the Narn ship gets from the CNC. Well, not somehow. We know why. We know how.
Yeah.
There's a unknown, an extra that passes on the information to Wells about the Narn ship. Londo calls Sheridan about it. He confronts him about it, and Sheridan pushes him off, tries to go and solve the problem, and basically he's also confronted by the guys from Earth Dome about this, keeping it secret. Meanwhile, a Narn, he calls the Narn ship, telling them, hey, the Centauri know about you. You're going to have to get out of here. And about the same time, a Centauri battlecruiser shows up to block the jump gate. Sheridan launches some fighters to protect it and basically says, if you shoot on the ship or the fighters or Babylon 5, we're going to shoot back. And there is a bit of a battle scene with the Centauri battlecruiser shooting on everybody. It is they fire at it. The Narn cruiser escapes, but the Centauri battlecruiser has some sort of cascading failure, and it basically blows up after the Narn ship leaves. Meanwhile, Lance confronts Sheridan about this sort of conflict. They work their way sort of through it. It's kind of a compromise. We'll talk about that in more detail, but the gist of it is that Sheridan is ordered to apologize to the Centauri for blowing up their battle cruiser. As they're having this little get together diplomatic thing where Sheridan's supposed to apologize in front of everybody, he's going there on the tramway, and somebody at Centauri we see puts a bomb on the train. Sheridan sees it just at the last minute, is able to escape before the train blows up, and of course he's floating down,
Falling, yeah.
falling towards the center, from the center to the sides of Babylon 5. And Lynn says to Kosh, if you're gonna do something, the time is to do it now. And Kosh changes into something that appears to be an angel. He opens his thing up and goes up, and he saves Sheridan. And we note that each person, each different race, sees a slightly different angel. Yes, exactly. We'll talk. I'm sure we'll get into that. It's very interesting. And of course, Londo apparently sees nothing. And that pretty much ends the episode with Zach going by and seeing the shop that he reported on, seeing the owner is arrested. There's a posting up there, and we have Ivanova talking at the end, a little bit of a voiceover.
Montage of what kind of happens, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And also, the last shot of the episode of the season is an Earth Dome news program, which shows the I actually didn't even mention this, that Kefir got some information. He's able to follow one of the shadows when they're escaping with the Narn ship. Some of the fighters follow him. He goes and he checks out something. He finds another one of the shadow ships, and he's able to get that information back to Babylon 5. And that information, some shots of the shadow ship, are shown on the Earth news program. You see a bit of a news program of the Earth, of the shadow ship moving towards and assumingly destroying Kefir's fighter. And that's the episode in a nutshell. So, Cam, where should we start? Lots to talk about.
Yeah, there's a ton of story threads here, and they intertwine fairly well. I'll kind of list them, and then I'd like to suggest that we hit some of the more individual ones and get everyone's comments and move around, or else it's going to be a jumble. Okay, so the what I've got is the A plot here is the Ministry of Peace story, essentially, or and the Wells and Lance and their goings on with the Centauri, and then branches off from that is the Night Watch details, because Wells is from Night Watch, and then we have the Centauri invasion component of that, involving the Pac-Mara, currently the Pac-Mara and the Drazi. And then the B plot that I've listed, and these are kind of arbitrary, but is the Narn ship storyline, and Chakar branching off from that. And then we have these others.
D plot.
Well, they're kind of subplot. I have the Kefir and Shadows thing as a C plot, and then Veer and Lanier, which is really just one scene, as a D plot, and then the Kosh kind of wrap up to the whole thing.
A big reveal.
E plot.
Yeah.
So I'd like to suggest that we start on the small side and get everyone's thoughts on the Veer and Lanier interaction. Anybody like to take that?
Oh, I thought it was interesting to these guys are basically each working for their respective ambassador, and they're just kind of they're not getting all the details that they probably need to do their jobs, and at the same time they're seeing a lot of stuff and being kind of left, I guess, in the dark or in the shadow, maybe a little bit.
At least they feel like it.
Yeah, and so they're basically just kind of, they go to the bar. They're kind of got just back and forth. Each one is stating something. They're not per se talking directly to each other in a conversation, but they're basically saying
they're venting.
They're venting. Yes, exactly. And then it's just kind of them getting it out, and and then they're like, okay, same time next week or whatever.
Tomorrow. It was a daily
tomorrow.
thing. Yeah.
And yep. And then
Okay.
they just go the opposite direction.
Yep. Jason, any thoughts on that? Little character development?
I think there's more to this, because you have in the beginning, you have the rally that Jakar is speaking at. And as Jakar is leaving, camera comes up over the promenade, and you see Veer standing there, and he's got his look on his face.
You're in last episode.
And was it
In the wrong
was that
episode.
last
That
episode?
was last
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, they're
But-
kind of setting up the.
Yeah, but I think
setting
that
this up.
that
It
is
does- I
important
think
to
it's-
it.
Yeah,
but
it
I
is.
think
It is
it's-
relevant.
I think it's connected in the thread with this stuff that's going on here, where Veer's got an arc.
Yes, he does.
And
Really.
I think going into season 3, we're probably going to see more of that, where he's sitting there going, Londo is in over his head. Nobody listened to me, and now here's where we're at. And I think Lanier is probably his sounding board on this one scene. Gives us a hint that there's going to be a little bit more there between those two, because they're in the same position for each ambassador, right? They're the aide de camp for their respective ambassadors, and they're in the same boat. You have circumstances and events are transpiring, and they're moving ahead, and we're all here for the ride, and hopefully we don't run off a cliff. And when you have your primary assistants basically talking to each other, saying, how do we head them off at the pass? How do we get them to do something that is a little bit smarter than what they're doing? How do we stop what's going on? I think there's some reinforcement there. They start forming those connections. I think we're going to start seeing
See more of this.
some more connection between those two characters. And I think ultimately Veer is going to end up being the one that's going to have more of a backbone, because he didn't have one in the beginning. Lanier is pretty solid. He's pretty steady, steadfast, reliable assistant, for Delenn. Veer is going to come up to that level. I think his relationship with Lanier is going to bring him up to at least that same level, where he can be what Londo needs in order to get out of this mess.
He's already been showing that, I think, through the season.
JMS
Somewhat.
said this was his favorite scene of the season.
Yeah, it was good.
That conversation was his favorite scene. Yeah, up to including the point where makes me nervous. They said at the same time, because they both don't like what's going on, and they both are of course they're going back and forth about they never listen to what we say, and they never and it's like they're having a conversation without looking at each other and having a direct conversation, but they're both thinking and mutually agreeing with one another. And Veer is starting to develop a backbone. Which at first he was very obsequious and to Londo, and just wait until Veer learns about motorcycles. Oh Lord. Okay.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing that you point out there, Jeff, that they have this conversation without looking like they're having the conversation. They're just sitting next to each other.
And I think that's by design. I think they're
agree.
doing it deliberately that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they don't want to look like they're, what would you call it, cohorting or
colluding.
Conspiring.
Yeah.
Madman, of course, where some of these things are going from their speculation, but on this, do you have any particular comments?
Yeah, I'm going to take it back, going backwards here on the going all the way back to the beginning of the season. You have to put the perspective between Veer and Lanier. Both of them have seen a lot of stuff, and they said spiraling out of control. They've seen a lot of stuff going on. Lanier, he was there, or was the intermediate with Kosh when Delenn sent him say if the shadows return to Zahadu, to that point, and also he saw her transformation to that point where he didn't understand what it was, and you saw the tears in his eyes, and these are the things he's seeing. Meanwhile, Veer is seeing this whole thing with Mr. Morden growing. That's headed out of control. That Londo has been basically, depending on Mr. Morden to handle things for the Centauri, and it's getting darker and darker every time for them. So for them to both sit there and discuss this the way they were doing it on there is just they're having their issues there. But I have to say one thing. If I have to say that, what if Natoth also joined it? What would it have been that conversation like?
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Yeah.
To have the three of them all just sitting there. You would probably have to have, because of that situation, you would most likely have to have
Lanier in the middle.
Lanier in the middle, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you need the neutral party in the middle. But they could all just be sitting there. That would have been hilarious.
But
Yeah,
if you notice, it's sort of for them sitting there talking about this, it's sort of because this is the last episode of the season. It's sort of recapping season 2.
Yeah.
I actually was going to mention that same thing about Natoth. I was really disappointed. I'm disappointed that they weren't able to. Natoth is not there because of the problems with the costume and the makeup and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, having a Natoth, especially the one from season 1. I mean, I think she was really great. Seeing her character develop and seeing the three of them together would have been so much. Would have been
I would
amazing.
I would say that really Veer and Lanier are the breakouts. The breakout stars, the ones that you really didn't. You know what I mean? Of the show.
I will, without spoiling, say that I love both Lanier and Veer's storylines.
Yeah.
So they definitely do have some great stuff coming up. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Snob, did you have any other comments on that part?
No.
Okay. I'd like to suggest it's a little bit out of order, but I'd like to hold the stuff with Kefir till the end because of it kind of caps the episode. I think the next thing I would suggest is we talk about the Pakmara and Drazi who are basically requesting a meeting with Sheridan to tell them about what's going on with Centauri, and then that leads into Sheridan confronting Londo, and then Sheridan going to Garibaldi to have this discussion about Londo.
Yeah.
Let's see, Jeff, you kind of led the other one.
Sure.
Madman, do you want to do kind of hit the high points of this, and then we can all comment?
Well, yeah, you have the Pakmara and the and they're sitting there saying that the Centauri are starting to spread out, into their territories that they're growing on there. And, later on, you're hearing from Londo that says, listen, we're just trying to buffer the zone and, keep breathing room. Make sure, we need a little breathing room, which brings up, and I'll say this from Star Trek Undiscovered Country, if you remember the line from the Klingon, he says, we just need a little breathing room. And what does Kirk say? Nazi Germany.
Hitler, 1938.
Well, I was getting ready to jump in and say, I mean, that was the excuse, wasn't that, for Germany going into Poland?
Yeah,
We need a buffer zone. We need a buffer zone.
We need a buffer zone. And you're hearing this from them now, and going back to the back episode where Jakar had said, they will come for you. When they're finished with us, they will come for you. And he was absolutely right on top of this.
And even Sheridan said, how far are you going to go, Londo?
Yeah.
Where does it stop? Where does it end? So, and it dovetails right in, and we're talking the previous 3 episodes.
Yep.
Where this is, clearly it's like we hit the gas and we're going at this point.
Yeah.
Let me mention that what Jeff said, what does he say to Sheridan when he gets mad at Sheridan? Goes, Sheridan, he confronts him, and he kind of threatens Sheridan.
Yeah, he's like, don't raise your voice at me. It's he was really kind of coming at him.
You can't speak to me like that.
Does anybody remember exactly what he says right before he leaves there? His last point. It basically was a threat.
It was a threat. Yes.
Yeah. It's like you don't want to have a fight with us.
Yeah, and I think his backbone there is knowing that thinking that he's got his friends, the Shadow, Mr. Morden and Morden's associates, backing him all the way, not realizing that he's not doing them favors. It's kind of the other way around. They're manipulating him.
Well, I think too the frustration, from Sheridan and some of the other people are the fact that, hey, we've known this guy now for, we've known Londo all this time, and he's acting so out of character. I mean, Garibaldi even says, this is not the Londo Molinari I know. And, the fact that he is acting this way, and Sheridan calls him on it, is, yeah, how long is this going to go? And Londo bites back, but I think Londo bites back mainly out of a sense of self-preservation of don't push this, because I don't want to get caught in too many different compromising positions. I'm already deep enough as it is. Don't make it any worse. But he's angry about it, and so he feels much more comfortable lashing out to Sheridan because they know each other. They have a history.
Yeah, well, and Garibaldi insightfully points this out. He's like, well, how do we get him to do that? And Garibaldi says, you won't, while he's afraid. Garibaldi just said, this is it. He knows him.
He's on a wild horse that he
right.
That's bucking that he won't get off of.
Yeah, and
he's just holding on tighter.
Yeah.
Right, and Sheridan is interesting in this scene, in my opinion, because he kind of, he's very confrontational, and then Londo, kind of pushes back, and then he kind of throws up his hands almost, and he's like, Londo, what are you doing? Kind of appealing to him more on that personal relationship level, and Londo kind of keeps his walls up, I think. So, Snob, you got any thoughts on that?
No, I just, sorry, while you guys talking, I was just trying to look up a little bit. I can't remember the exact words, but Londo seemed a little more threatening, like personally to Sheridan.
Yeah, he did at the end. He basically said, he said, your authority ends here, and you better watch out, because it was basically like, get off your high horse, because you're not all that you think you are.
Well, it seemed even more threatening to me than that, but
you're right.
Watch yourself, as if. I'm not sure if he meant he's personally going to get him or anything, but it was a little more than I'm usual to see. Usually Londo doesn't threaten that much. He's kind of more, general about it, more diplomatic about the threats that he makes.
Okay,
that was kind of direct and personal, but anyway,
maybe
I thought that was interesting.
He's saying it's like he sees what happens to the opposition at this point, and maybe that's beyond his control, meaning he knows that shadows will take out whoever, gets in the way of whatever that machine is, because he didn't expect, to happen, the Mass Driver thing, for example. I think he knows, things are not in his control.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say that. I think his threat being personal to Sheridan, somewhat more personal, let's say, is also an example of him losing control a bit, because he's no longer his usual smooth diplomatic self. He's getting a little flustered. He's now making personal threats because he's lost a bit. He's scared. He doesn't know what to do. And it's coming out in his behavior a little bit. That's my thought. But
Londo's exact line on that was that Sheridan's authority ends at Babylon 5, and that he should beware of getting involved.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to note about that?
Yeah, not Earth getting involved or Babylon 5 getting involved, but Sheridan
getting involved.
Like that seems a little more personal.
Exactly. Anyway. No, it's we're seeing to the point level where this is escalating. With the Centauri. How far are they going to go? At this point level, we don't know, and it basically.
Don't worry.
Everybody is nervous. Everybody is nervous about this.
They've tasted blood, so now they're like, the glory days are back.
Yeah,
let's the chum. In fact, the term chum or chumming the waters was actually used by JMS in his voiceover for this episode. He said,
commentary track.
The commentary track. He used the term chumming the waters.
I'm not worried because I'm sure that Neville Lentz will take care of everything.
Neville.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to him in. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that's another aspect of Londo coming in, because you've got officially you have the non-aggression pact. So Londo is not only, kicking back at Sheridan, I know you, Sheridan, but also, you are just some low man on the totem pole here in the hierarchy of things. You don't overstep your own little spot in the pond, because we've got this other agreement with your bosses.
Well,
and you don't need to be stepping out of line.
technically, they don't know that yet.
Well,
Although
okay.
Londo probably does. But
Well, that's a question. Do you think that Londo already knows that Earth is going to bring a? I didn't get that impression personally, but I'm wondering if you think that Londo already knows that the Earth government is going to come to them and look for a non-aggression pact.
Well,
I mean, Sheridan is totally surprised.
I think he's.
I'm guessing he did have some indication of it.
Yeah.
But I don't. And so Jason, it sounds like you're thinking that Londo maybe had that in mind when he was having that discussion.
And coming from a position of knowledge that Sheridan
could
did
be.
not have.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
Absolutely.
okay. So that leads right into the next part, which is the Ministry of Peace guys arriving, and Sheridan is like, oh, this is, he thinks, oh, this is great. Finally, they're getting, Earth forces getting involved,
Right?
And and something's going to get done to address this Centauri aggression, right? So, so then there's that whole series of scene, that scene where they come in and they kind of have their, little touching base and where they're going, and of course they don't reveal where they're going with it to begin with. And then we see, like I said, that spirals into the thing with Ivanova and Wells. And then Ivanova also has a scene with Lance as well, which is kind of interesting that she had this interaction with both of these characters. And then, Sheridan, again, it seems uncharacteristically kind of optimistic, in which he shares with Jakar that optimism as well. And Jakar is like really kind of lit up about it too.
He kind of gets, he's like, there is hope.
Yeah.
You can see the hope in his eyes a little bit,
Yeah. Snob, you want to start with that chunk and give your comments?
Yeah. You want to start with Ivanova and her too?
Wherever you like.
Let me make a general comment first that, I was a little bit disappointed with Sheridan. He seems overly enthusiastic and not aware of the like he's a captain, for Christ's sake. He should be aware that there's political shenanigans going on all the time, and that he tells the he's very obviously happy about the Narn letting Jakar think that everything's going to be good. Oh yeah, I'll give you all my various he tells the Narn cruiser, yeah, don't worry, you got my guarantee. Yeah, everything. He's too positive. He, doesn't he not know that he's the low man on the totem pole? He's setting him up for failure.
I think that he has been so overwhelmed by the stuff that's going on that he's
maybe he's grasping a little bit. It's like
comes a little naive,
wishful thinking
in this episode.
Yeah, but I think because he's he's been working with Kosh and with Delenn and the Rangers and stuff like that, and he's like, finally Earth is doing something. It's about time that they've we finally are stepping up, and we're gonna put this line in the sand to that he talked about very eloquently. He spoke of in 3 episodes back.
Okay, so my counter to that
is how come he's now so optimistic.
My counter to that is that, I mean, I would agree, but the thing is that these guys come in and they're purposefully not saying anything. Yeah, we're here to sort out the Centauri problem and put those Centauri back in their place. They're very, we're going to talk to everybody, and they don't give any hints about any way what they're going, which usually means it's going to be bad for you.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they come out and say, "Yeah, we're here to sort the Centauri problem out. We're gonna put,
You know,
sort it out." But
I didn't
and
mention the Narn.
he doesn't pick up that. Sheridan should pick up that and go, "Wait a second here, something's going on."
Yeah, I should mention the Narn ship did come in before that
It
discussion
did.
with where he talked. So anyway, sorry that I
Yeah,
I
because
didn't note
they
that.
wanted
No.
they were infuriated that they didn't get informed.
No. He remember Sheridan meets. It's right after the intro. Sheridan
Right after, yeah,
gets
right
the
after
word
they-
that these guys have shown up, so he meets them, and they're all like, "Oh, we're just here to find out what's going on," and
Yeah,
blah blah. And then I mean, later that you're right, but he should have. I thought he should have got a little bit of an inkling that they're not being very upfront with him right off the bat. Maybe there's more to this than I think. But
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe.
May I mention that the actor who played Frederick Lance on this episode, played by Roy Dotrice, if I pronounced that correctly. I apologize if I did that wrong.
I've seen him in other stuff.
He's been in a lot of stuff. I mean,
Both
all the
of
way
them,
back
actually, both of them I've seen in
Space
he's-
1999, where he played
Yeah.
Commissioner Simmons, who had the most horrible death of anybody in a sci-fi series.
And a bad haircut.
Yeah, I had a bad haircut. He played Zeus on Hercules, the series, and a lot of other shows: L.A. Law, Wings, Earth 2, Murder She Wrote. He's been in a lot.
He was father on Beauty and the Beast with
Yes.
Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman.
Yeah,
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah. I always forget Ron was
fantastic
in
actor.
that. Because I liked that character and I can't stand him as a person.
Yeah, but his death
Well-
on Space 1999 was
But yeah,
let me sorry, let me just fill in a couple details about the Narn cruiser coming in. They were on. The captain says that they were on a long range patrol when Homeworld was taken over, basically, and they've been basically fighting to stay ahead of stay alive, and they're basically they're pressed. They have nowhere else to go, so they come in on the opposite side of the planet. Where no one can see them essentially, but Babylon 5 can, because they're able to monitor that and such. And this is all, this comes through open, not open channels, but people in CNC are aware of it.
and there's a lot of people in this.
Right. There's quite a few. Right. There's quite a few people there. And so, like Snob mentioned, Sheridan basically says, yeah, we'll help you. And again, he, there's some other things. And at some point he says, yeah, you could take your jump engines offline because you're under our protection. And he overplays his hand as I think Snob was
big time.
not overplays his hand. He's too optimistic. He's
Big time.
well, he's also going by regulations.
Right. Yeah. We find that
With
out.
regulations,
Yeah, we mentioned that
you're
later.
asked for it. Yeah. You ask if a ship is in distress and they need, that's even the rule. That's the rule today. A ship in distress. If
any science fiction series, that's
well,
ship
it's
in
not just
distress,
science
you got to go
fiction,
help.
it's reality. I mean, today, if a foreign ship asks for help, that you try to aid them if you can. You can't. You don't want people to needlessly die.
Yeah.
Okay, but
So
I agree. But there's two things. First, let me say I've highlighted Vicky's point here. I think this is a great point that Vicky makes. This is awesome. But also, Sheridan should know that it's there's a warping going on. There's a Narn ship there. Like it's not just some ship that we're gonna help them. It's a boat of refugees or something. Like this is he's got to know this is gonna be politically sensitive if he helps it out. Not saying that he shouldn't do it, but he's got to know that it's gonna be more problems with at least with Londo and the Centauri if he helps it. Like he can't just be like,
Well, they're on the
we'll
other
just help him, no big deal.
Babylon 5 is supposed to be neutral ground.
I know,
Yeah.
but it's kind of by helping them, they're kind of taking a side somewhat.
No, because they would
well,
do
that-
the
Cruisers
same
on
thing.
the other side of Epsilon 3.
That doesn't matter.
Nobody
because
sees that. You would
the
have to be
Londo,
scanning.
the Centauri are not going to believe that, right? They're not going to agree with it. So it's going to be a political.
Yeah,
problem, is my point.
but Sheridan, Sheridan's got the point where he's got the regulations on his side. He has the letter of his law. What spirit of the law aside, letter of the law, the regs say if you have a ship in distress or if there's any request for help, then they're obligated legally
Yeah.
to provide a certain amount of help, no matter who it is.
They're not providing munitions. They're providing
Right. But I think
fuel
this
or,
is
humanitarian aid,
food,
essentially.
etc.
But I
And
think
I agree
this-
with all that, but it's a ship of war, and you got to know there's going to be a political problem.
yeah,
Right?
but
It's gonna
Okay,
be
it's not-
yeah, but Sheridan is not primarily a diplomat politician. He's a military commander of a space station that has certain duties and obligations as a home port, neutral territory, or whatnot. But the primary, well, all of the diplomacy stuff aside, the primary function of that station is to provide a way station for people that are traveling in and out and around the area.
Right.
So you have a ship, whatever ship that is.
In a Centauri, if it was a Centauri battle cruiser,
yeah,
same situation.
Same
You
thing.
know,
and the regs back him up. But I think also, to Vicky's point on the thing about him wanting Earth to do the right thing, this is him also doing the right thing. The right thing, not just taking Centauri, taking a Narn ship's side, but the right thing to do is to provide help to people who need help. And it also is one more thing that goes toward stuff that's going to happen later in the series with regard to Babylon 5's status, Sheridan's status, his belief in Earth doing the right thing. All of that plays into that, because this one thing, the reaction to what he does here, is another plank in that bridge getting from point A to point B, which is spoiler territory at this point.
right? And it's a matter of doing the right thing, or even though it may be the hard thing.
See, I agree with I see both perspectives. I agree with what Vicky says here, and what you guys are basically saying, that he's doing these things. It is within his power and everything. But I also see what Snob's saying is that he is, like I said, he's being too optimistic about this. It's like he's just grasping at straws that it's going to work out, when they've seen that their dealings with Earth have not given them any particular reason to be confident about it.
I agree.
It's
I agree
denial.
with everything.
Denial.
I agree with
He's
everything
living in denial. That no.
I agree with
in the
everything
end,
that
Earth's going to do the right thing.
I agree with everything that Jeff and Jason have said. 100% agree. My only problem is that he is he's a captain. He's been on Babylon 5 for a year. He knows about diplomacy. He's got to have something in his mind. We don't see it. There's got to be something in his mind that says, wait a second, I'm going to help the Centauri out, or the Narn out, and I should, and it's the best thing to do, and the regulations say it. But come on, like, this is going to be a problem. This is going to come back to bite me in the ass, for sure. Yeah. There's going to be a problem with it. At least Londo complaining. Great. Vicky's got great points there. I think this is more of a future sort of thing with Sheridan. Like, this is the final shattering of his faith in Earth. I think that's a great and I agree 100%. He's a warrior, and he's trying to do that right. But now he's going to be disillusioned because of this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, Madman, break the tie for us. What's your view on this whole situation?
Snob has it right on there on Sheridan's belief on there, because you have to remember, it's that you have the difference between the political office and the military. His orders come directly from the Joint Chiefs. Whatever, like Ministry of Peace, this whole situation, they can say, hey, listen, you did wrong. This is a situation. You should have told us. But they said, no, I'm doing my job. This is what I'm supposed to do. They asked for help. I gave them the help they need. Now, whatever like it says, whatever happens outside the Babylon 5 space, that's to whatever happens out there. Here, we're under this jurisdiction, and if I want to help them, yes, this is how it's going to be. And this is where you're seeing how things are going. The warning signs are there. It's Ministry of Peace. That should scare you to death. Anytime that you said, well, we have to have the Ministry of Peace, Ministry of Information, where does that all sound familiar?
Information.
Yeah. Listen to what Night Watch says. Listen to what Night Watch says.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Listen to the lines Night Watch says. Misinformation. In the episode.
Well, let's go.
And with all of that, this episode hits much differently now post COVID than it did before.
Oh,
exactly.
I am sure that that I think JMS, having watched
he's
the
got a time machine.
commentary, well,
He got a time machine?
I kind of feel
The
like
way he uses misinformation all the time, misinformation. I'm like,
he would
geez.
try to find ways to get around some of the things that he says in this commentary track today.
Oh yeah.
I see.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
But
the
you-
things he says every
Oopsie.
time he said this, I'm thinking 2020.
Well, okay. See that speaks. We've said that we've complimented this before. That I'm not sure what his views would be about the current, COVID or anything like
Yeah.
that. But he's talking about things. Clearly this is linking directly to World War II, and we can touch on that in a minute. Pre-World War II, I should say.
Let me just
sorry.
let me just add to what PB says on here. Okay, so the only real problem I have with it is that, and maybe I missed it, but everything you're saying, PB, is correct here. He took a side and all that. My point is that he doesn't seem to, like, I would have preferred to have him go, some sort of, even a line in there thinking, oh, wait a second, I'm going to do this. It's going to be right. Maybe he says to Ivanova, he goes, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, but listen, there's probably going to be some pushback from Earth about it, or there's going to be a problem. Just to acknowledge the fact that he's aware that, hey, I'm doing this, but like, he doesn't seem to understand that he's going to get pushback. That's my only. I thought he
made it abundantly clear, though, that Babylon 5 is neutral territory.
That's great.
And that we're not providing arms, munitions, or aiding comfort to the enemy. All we're doing is, somebody is.
Again,
the episode.
He's had pushback.
The episode actually.
He's had pushback the entire season.
Yeah.
Okay. The episode actually resolved this within the story, though.
Yeah.
I know we all have our opinions on it, but and we could talk about that, but those questions are answered for us. Within the story.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk about the direct, how this blows up, or do you want to do a little bit more the part where we're setting up with the Night Watch and everything? I think that might be better.
I think we should go to the Night Watch.
Okay, but let's put Ivanova on the back burner, though. We should go back to Ivanova at some point.
Well, that's part of the Night Watch thing
here.
So we've got this little basket of interludes and such. The one is Wells, propositioning Ivanova about joining Night Watch, and how that can fast track her career.
Right.
And then we have the scene with Wells having the Night Watch meeting, that involves Zach, kind of featuring him. And then we also have the scene. And at first, I'm not sure exactly why it was in there, but the scene with Lance and Ivanova, where they're kind of talking about their families and things like that, because I think that was trying to shape, show us who Wells is, and that he's not like some malevolent kind of actor. He's got these lofty goals in mind. Let's see who hasn't. For Jason, do you want to talk about that kind of this interlude chunk of issues?
Zach actually surprised me on this. I expected him to stand up and walk out, honestly, just because it was so. This is the piece. This whole discussion of why didn't you report things and why aren't you looking at things and all of that, where Wells is so over the top. I thought this scene was too on the nose and not subtle at all. This was baseball bat over the head for me. I didn't think it fit the rest of the episode, just because it was so overtly smarmy.
Really,
and
that was intentional, by the way.
No, I know, but
no. I mean, like you said.
But I think, I don't think it was intentional for Wells to be the way he is. I think the scene was overcooked. There was nothing subtle about it, and it doesn't play into the rest of it, because the Ministry of Peace, we're here to negotiate peace. We're here to do this.
We're from the government. We're here to help. Yeah,
exactly. And Wells is just he almost enters caricature level with this scene. He's too over the top with the Frederick Gables thing. Yeah, he's
Well,
too much. It's too much.
So JMS, what he was referring to, believe it or not, because that's you and I would thinking the same way, that this is definitely, we're thinking World War II, the Nazis or as the Nazi party's trying to, the brown shirts and all that stuff. No, he was thinking McCarthyism. He was thinking like
the
when
Red Scare.
The Red Scare. Literally, he repeated this 3 different times on this commentary. That's what he was viewing this as when Hollywood and whatnot. He was.
the Red Scare was.
The
Red Scare was true though.
Isn't that? But it's interesting, isn't it? That it's like, oh no, well, see, this is about. It's really a condemnation of the thing that I care about.
Yeah.
Not, it's like. Because I didn't see that at all. I saw this is Nazi Germany. This is
right.
That kind of thing, informing on people. And we see it.
If are you neighbors having a party and
right?
more than 6 people?
Yeah.
That's my mind in my head is screaming. Oh my God! How?
Yeah. Well, and
who I watch he's talking about McCarthyism.
Yeah. Well. Hudal's got the point here. It's when Lucas says, it's like poetry, it rhymes. History does the same thing. History repeats itself. Same song, different verse. And whether it's McCarthyism, Red Scare, or COVID, or what happens to Nazi Germany with the Stasi, and that kind of thing, at some point there's going to be a Gina Carano getting fired. You're gonna have some people sit there and go, hang on a second. And I expected Zach to do that, and he didn't.
Zach,
he has shown himself to be he's a smart guy, and he's just kind of right now because he's doing this whole armband thing for the 50 credits. He's doing
that's
it.
How it starts, though.
Exactly.
That's how it starts, and it's a cult. You get sucked into it, and when you realize that, okay, I'm stuck in quicksand.
Yeah.
What do I do? And you just kind of like, oh well.
Yeah, but he's smart enough. He's smart enough. He's looking around at these people and he's hearing what Wells is saying, and you can see it in his face.
Yeah.
Ding 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 ding. Hang on.
Yeah, but he's looking around. He's looking around at them for support, and he's getting nothing.
And I figured he would stand up and say, "This is not for me. Take the armband off and go." And he did.
Okay. I think Jason brings up a very.
Of course, in the end, we find out what would have happened to him. He probably would have been charged with sedition or treason.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he might still.
Okay. Excellent points, Jason. Jeff, you started to talk about your view on it. Do you want any other comment? Because I'd really like to see everyone's view on this. Because I think it's very important.
I do think but I think it's, as you said, history may not necessarily repeat itself, but it often rhymes. I think and I can see how this happened, how they're building. I didn't think they were that he was over the top. I think that was by design. He's supposed to be. He's like a used car salesman. Is the vibe I got with him. He's a used car salesman, or a politician. To be honest, a lot of the way that a lot of the the politicians, or some of the, remember the Jim Baker and all that back in the 80s and 90s. We're gonna do great things. Send us your money. No, we're gonna do great things. You just report to us and we'll help you out. And, that wasn't that hard, right?
Well, and he appears to be the functionary when it actually turns out he's got a lot more power than anybody notices.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, between the two of them, Lance has the least power.
Yeah, let's save that for when that comes up. Madman, what do you have to say about what Jason's view on this and your view on this?
Okay, here's where it is. When you look at this, and let's go back to the beginning on this. The day that Night Watch shows up on Babylon 5, we're going to give you 50 credits to wear this armband, just to walk around and all that. Zach goes, hey, if they want to give 50 credits, go right ahead. I'll take the money.
Yeah, I'll take 50 credits.
And it's kind of subtle. But that first meeting, what happens? Talia asks a question, and she doesn't like it and walks out.
Right.
Because she says, this doesn't sound right. This is not, and this is girl who works for Psycor, and she's like, no, this don't sound not right at all. And as this progresses further, you start to see, Zach is in a peripheral deer in the headlights type situation, and quoting a little bit of the producers, I think we're over our heads. This is, I'll let you know when we're over our heads. And that's the look that he is on this. Is, am I over my head right now? I don't know. Listen, all these guys, the Garibaldi brought these guys in, they're supposed to be very trustworthy. They're going to back up Garibaldi to that point. But you remember what happened with one of Garibaldi's number 2 shot him in the back.
Right.
Yeah. Snob. Okay. Snob. What about you?
Yeah. I think this scene is perfectly done with Wells. This is how they get you. You know, Zach goes in, he thinks, it's no big deal. I'll just take the money, these suckers. Right. And then they start to and he's like, he doesn't care. He's like, figures maybe I'll, report some crimes. I got to do that anyway. I'm a cop.
Right.
And then he goes in and he finds out everybody else has been reporting all kinds of stuff. And then they put subtle pressure on him to, come on, tell us, have you got anything important? And he's sort of looking around everybody else like, this is stupid, right? We're not going to report some guy because he says he didn't like a government policy, are we? And everybody else is staring at him like, and he's like, holy geez, am I the only one here who thinks this is stupid? I guess I am. And so he feels the social pressure, and he's like, yeah. I mean, I heard the guy say something. Sure,
like, a few things, yeah.
And Wells sets it up perfectly to bring him down the rabbit hole with the whole, oh, we already know. So just tell us what we already know. This is what interrogators do to people.
They try to be your friend. They're going to be your friend. I'm going to help you out. Good cop, bad cop.
And then the next thing you know, he's like. So the next time that Zach says something, he goes, well, you already put that one guy in jail. It was you who did it. I mean, you reported him.
Right.
Now you've already gone down halfway down the rabbit hole. Now go all the way down, right?
This kind of a parallel to Londo, in a way, on a smaller scale.
Yeah, it is on a much smaller scale. So I thought it was perfectly done, exactly how they do it. Great scene.
Okay, let me put my 2 cents in, then we'll let Jason have the final word, since we've all been able to rebut what he said. I agree with Snob. I think this was an extremely effective scene and portrayed how these things work. And I think Jeff Conway, who played Zach, played this extremely well. Like Jason mentioned, you could see the discomfort in his eyes and everything. And, he's kind of looking around and the other people are staring at him. I think this was an exceptionally well done scene. That said, I do agree with Jason that it did get to the caricature point with Wells. He, just the way he was like, oh, well, of course we already know about this. You just have to tell us. It was laid on extremely thick.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with Jason's take on it, but that for me, it doesn't remove the fact that it shows the insidious nature of this kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, Jason, go ahead.
Well, and I'm
final word.
And I'm not saying that the scene wasn't effective. I'll agree with you there. The scene's effective in what it's trying to do, but I still think that it's overwritten. I think it's exaggerated to the point of caricature that it almost becomes a parody of itself at that point and undermines itself with everything that's happening in this, because there's a lot happening in this episode.
Yeah.
And this almost undermines a good chunk of it by getting a little silly.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I said I was going to give you the last word, but someone, I think it was Jordan Peterson talks about, it's like, we all think we're going to be the ones that stand up and say, oh no, I'm going to stand up for the right thing. And in reality, you're much more likely to not be that person.
Well, and he talks about this on Joe Rogan. There's a book called Ordinary Men. And it's basically talking about Nazi Germany, how everybody just allowed this to happen. And he says, basically, the principle is, I'm going to push you just a little bit until you start to push back, and then I stop. I don't back up. I just stop. And then you get comfortable where you're at, and I push you a little bit, and you back up a little bit, and you push back, and then I stop. And then I push you a little bit, and I stop, and I push. By
Next
the time
thing you know,
next thing you know, you're a mile and a half down the road, and there are concentration camps in your backyard, and you're like, how did we get here? It's because you let me push you incrementally.
And I think that they had to do it,
and that's what Zach found himself doing.
Yeah, and I think he absolutely intended it to be this way. That's exactly the way JMS I'm talking about. He loved this, the way that this was portrayed.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he intended. Was it to be that? Now I think, yes, I get it. It probably should have been a little more subtle and build over time and build over time and build over time. But this is also season finale. There's a lot of things going on. I think they kind of had to compress that pressure into a much smaller segment to get it.
I hope we're following this thread in season 3 a little bit.
Well, you have to, but you put in this perspective, and not to give anything away. What's going on back on Earth? If this is what Night Watch is doing on Babylon 5.
Imagine.
And this is an organization that's not only on Babylon 5, that's back home on Earth.
Yeah.
What the hell
and
is
Mars
going on
and everywhere
back on
else
Earth?
too.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I agree. I think this is one of the most interesting scenes of the thing, and will, without spoilers, have impact moving forward.
Sure.
Snob, do you want to talk a little bit about Ivanova's little interactions with both these characters?
No, let's let someone else go, and I'll comment at the end, because I'm
Okay, where are we at? Are we back to Jeff?
Sure, whatever.
Jeff, you want to talk about Ivanova's brief interaction with Wells? And
so as far as Wells, I think that's one of the key reasons why she was like so disgusted, knowing her family background. Notice that she is, we know from previous episodes she's of Jewish descent, Russian Jew, and I think that is definitely in the back of her mind, and she sees this and goes and makes that connection right away. That's what this guy is. That this has happened before, and this happened to my family line a couple hundred years ago, and now it's happening again. And she's like, no, I'm going to earn my place. I don't want to owe any favors. I don't want to be compromised, and she stands up for that. As far as the other guy, Lance is we've already said it. He is and was intended to be the Neville Chamberlain character. I mean, to the point where he even utters a line
quotes
from him.
Yeah.
He's quoting him, but not quoting him as if he was quoting him. He's saying the same thing but it's his words. I think he's the fool. That he's the useful idiot that thinks he's going to be able to go out there and negotiate peace. And
but they set him up. Do you think that the scene with Ivanova was to set him up so we had an expectation that it's like, oh, he's a good guy, Yeah,
I mean, and he's kind of a doddering kind of, I won't say a doddering old man, but he the whole kissing the pen thing, by the way, that was the actor that was his choice. And there was an interesting side note on that. JMS said, yeah, actors are going to be actors. One of these days, CGI will be able to replace them. No, I don't mean that. Well, yes, I do. No, I don't. That's literally how he said it. Where are we at today? On the verge of that, because this is what 95 now when this show was out. But I think he played the role excellently. I think he honestly believes he's trying to do the right thing, whereas I don't get the same feeling from Wells. I think
Right. Yeah.
Wells
And
has ulterior motives. I think
clearly,
I think
and that contrast, I think, was
yes,
what they were trying to portray.
Lance is Lance is it Lance or whatever?
Lance and Wells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lance is the genuinely thinks that he's going to be able to achieve peace, and we're gonna secure peace for Earthdom by this non-aggression pact. He's genuine about that. Wells is like, yeah, we're gonna extinguish any dissent by what we're doing, but we've gotta get the people to come onto our side through any means
Right.
necessary.
Yep.
But
Okay, Jason.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Nobody felt that there was an issue with this with the Ministry of Peace. I mean, let's
What do
think
you
about this.
You mean on the crew? You mean that they didn't know?
No, it's not that. Think about this for a minute. Mr. Lance comes down and he says, "I'm here to talk to the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, to the situation and what's going on. I'm here to talk with the Centauri on there." He avoids Jakar totally onto the situation on there, and we heard in the beginning, the Centauri are invading other worlds, other sectors into there. They're expanding to that point. What's Lance's line later on? It says, I'm signing a Earth is signing a non-aggression pact with the Centauri. We will have peace for the first time. There will be peace. Supporting that Neville and Chetland line. But I think that is problematic into itself, because having peace and allowing the Centauri
Peace at any price is not.
allowing the Centauri to, let's say, get a little breathing room is a little bit of an issue. As much as you might like the character to the point, he's part of an organization created probably by the president called the Ministry of Peace. Any organization like that is always a problematic. You've known it in history, and it kind of you should be a bit scared at this point onto there that hey, we're gonna have peace. There's gonna be no problem with this. Everything's going to be fine.
I have the personal guarantee from
Hitler.
Yeah.
He told me personally, everything's good.
Everything's good.
Right. Jason, you got any comments on that?
Well,
setup?
I think the one thing that that I would ask is where in the hierarchy of the Earth government does this Ministry of Peace exist? Is it an official department in the government? Is it officially that? Because this Night Watch thing, I always felt was kind of it's a 501c3 NGO that's over here, not a government operation.
I think it is.
No, it's government.
Well, I think it's under it's.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is
kind of like USA.
The way it's been portrayed, my impression was that this was some grassroots, well, not a grassroots, kind of an Antifa George Soros type of thing where it was outside of government auspices money wise, even though it's cooperating with certain government entities internally. But now you've got Ministry of Peace, and you've got the brown shirts are part of the Ministry of Peace. But if the Ministry of Peace is officially a government department, where does that fall in the structure? And what kind of authority does he have to actually negotiate anything? He's there to interview and to talk to people and whatnot.
Well, that's the premise.
But where we miss the piece where the non aggression pact actually gets signed. He doesn't sign it. We don't see him sign it. We don't see him.
I don't think it gets signed.
So
it does.
It does after this episode, though. It happens in the timeline in that wrap up at the end. Yeah.
But also, he does mention that he talked to EarthGov. That we're going to, we're putting together this non-aggression pact. To that point, He does mention it at one part of the episode.
But who is he? I mean, is he an official? Is he an official ambassador? Is he a representative of the Earth government?
Yeah, he's a guy from a guy from the state, the equivalent of the State Department or the Ministry of Peace. They go, hey, your job. Listen, you Bob, go over there and sign a, do the thing,
Well-
sign a non-aggression pact with the Centauri. Okay, what are we going to do to do that? We got to make sure
Lance
you,
from the ministry.
yeah, make sure you interview everybody, and do all this stuff so it looks like we're doing a good job and we've ticking everything and ticked all the boxes, and then sign your non-aggression pact. Like that's what,
Yeah,
that's
but
what's
I think Jason's asking about Wells too, because Wells makes a point of saying, "Oh yeah, we're really kind of a separate thing." It's
Well,
like
they
they're
are.
under the auspice of the Ministry of Peace, but they're kind of their own independent agency.
I don't think
Is
I don't
what-
think they're officially a government agency.
No, this is
I'm
where the
pretty
point
sure
you
that-
have to ask again: what is going on back home on Earth?
Well, that's true.
And
Yeah.
we don't know what enough
We don't
is
know what's
going on
there.
Earth, but my assumption is that there's something, Earth Gov it's got some sort of shadow influence and some sort of authoritarian influence. So this is how Earth government is going about it. They're like, oh, we'll start this night watch thing, and it'll just be, we're just checking on everybody, making sure everything's good to go, and then they're sneaking in their brown shirts.
No, I'm not.
Right now, General Haig is mounting a secret investigation going on right now with the help of Sheridan. We know that for a fact through this season onto what's been going on.
Yeah, I will say without spoilers, we do later on we do see a little bit more about Night Watch and where they kind of fall into things. So you will get your answers for that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, right now, my inclination is they are not an official government entity. That they're probably much like they're getting money funneled to them from somewhere. Probably somewhere in the government is doing it, and where it's going, but they're not the official representative.
Okay, this is whether JMS admits it or not, he's mirroring Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
and you guys have kind of likened it to the brown shirts. In some ways, I think that's accurate. In other ways, I don't. But in any case, it is this kind of organizational thing where it's like, they report to dear leader. You know,
until you're given until you've actually got the position of supreme leader of all of Earth, for all of eternity wrapped up. You got to be sneaky about where you're sneaking in your brown shirts and stuff, right? So they're going to be hidden. Oh, there's this program here, and it's for civic involvement and whatever. You're going to lie about it and hide about it. So until Hitler's brown shirts are hidden away, until they're in a spot. He's in a spot where you can make them official, right? And so this is in my view, they're doing the same thing.
They're just
this is
right now. They're
government.
They're just
whether it's a
people trying to
government
help.
program or not. In reality, it's hidden in there, and at some point when they don't have to hide it anymore, it'll be
Now
obvious.
theoretically, wouldn't an actual treaty require the signature of the president?
Okay, but the Ministry of Peace is definitely a government agency. It's like you said, it's like the State.
The Ministry of Peace is, yes.
Yeah, but he's
Night
the one
Watch,
actually doing
Night Watch.
Lance's,
I think is kind of a covert,
Yeah, it's
Black-
right. It's
Black
that
Ops
kind of
project.
separate, right? But Lance is the one. He's the Ministry of Peace guy. He's not a Night Watch guy, and he's the one handling the peace treaty or the non-aggression.
and I think he
Okay.
has best of intentions, but for all the wrong reasons.
Right, and yeah, there and
He's a
again,
stooge.
I think that's
And he's very selfish. If you notice
Well,
that, he's almost
yeah.
narcissistic.
He's
Because
a stooge. He's been given his orders, and he's going to go and do his job. And
but he's also very much about, I've worked very hard on this, and I'm not going to let. And you've ruined everything.
okay. You're getting ahead of things a little bit here.
know,
Let's move on to that part though, because there's a lot to go through here, and
It goes to his
and Jeff,
motivation. So
yeah, we'll start with you on that, Jeff, so you can continue your thought there. But I just want to tee it up for you, if I may. Okay, so now, we've seen kind of the all of the setting up, and then we get to where things start to fall apart, right? And I'll just hit a few high points, and then you can go through the details. Like you said, the first thing we see, Jakar's all excited, he wants to talk to him, and he blows him off, right? And suddenly you see this guy that you're set up as like, oh, he's trying to do this good thing, acting pretty questionably. And then we have the whole thing where the Narn ship is discovered, and then they start to get into the threats, and Londo making demands about it. And then we see, you know, the one bridge officer, you know, going to Wells, and so again, it's now things are escalating now. So Jeff, since I cut you off, I'm
No,
sorry.
that's okay.
Go ahead and
I think
discuss
it's
this
his
segment, if you
reaction
would.
to Jakar, and oh, here he is right now. You know, Susan's like, you know, said, you know, she's talking to Jakar, and you know, and he's like, oh, no, and he's like, get away from me! I can't talk to you! I can't talk to you! Clearly, he already has this plan, and the intent is maybe orders. We don't know. Maybe it's orders from the
Well,
president to do this whole non-aggression pact.
yeah, and it's like, Jakar, oh, you're getting in the way of my grand plan. I can't have you
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it.
Oh,
You
I
know, it's
can't.
like,
I can't talk. No, maybe later. You know, because I'm not going to. I'm not because he is concerned that he's going to, you know, set a you know. Oh, wait, talking to the enemy of somebody we're trying to negotiate a non-aggression pact with could give the wrong
yeah,
impression, and you know, of course, that's later on
how,
he gets upset when the you know little Miss Tattletale goes and
right.
tells sorry I missed the meeting, I was on duty, but blah 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 blah. We don't hear exactly what she says, but the very next scene, of course, is you
Yeah.
know what you didn't know, how dare you, blah blah blah, how dare you, and then they get into this whole argument with Sheridan about it's the law. I had to obey the law. And
Well,
what does it matter to
that's
you anyway?
that.
You know, it's like
Okay, that's the aftermath, though.
right.
This is the setup where they're starting to put in the complaint, right? Where he's coming to him as things are escalating, and it's coming to a head,
You, you're,
and Londo's putting pressure on them.
you're missing a part.
You know,
You are missing a
go
part. I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
The very beginning, what was happening in the episode? That basically Sheridan was training the pilots
Yes,
to
you're
fight
exactly right.
Centauri ships. So
And how
basically,
dare
you know,
yeah, why are
it's
you
like
training the
you've been
pilots?
teaching your pilots how to fight the Centauri. You know, this is what we're trying. We're trying to resolve the situation. You must stop this immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
And that excellent point. I'm totally skipped over that one because it really it leads to this building of this how dare you, and then it comes at the, you know, they're well, of course they're the aggressors. Strategically, tactically, you got a lot more to fear from the Centauri turning on you and being that snake that bites you, than you do a broken people, you know,
Right.
that now are desperate for any modicum of, hey, can we get sanctuary?
Well, no, you got to remember now. Now we know that of the surviving ship, but before that, you have to say they're doing these models, you know, against the Centauri. It's not
Yeah,
the
when
Narn is
it
going to come
starts
after
off,
them.
I mean, you're
The
seeing
Narn fleets are gone. They're all gone except that one ship that's on the other side of Epsilon 3. But you know, it's
as far as we know.
You know, you think the Narn are going to show up and start blowing everything up? No,
No.
the Centauri is most likely going to be the more, you know, to the
Right,
point.
as far as we know, the entire fleet of Narn ships have been destroyed, as far as Earthdom is
Yeah,
aware.
exactly.
So the fact that there is one surviving ship is kind of, you're like, oh wow, well yeah, I mean, you don't have anybody to back you up, so you want
You got to remember the
sanctuary.
Centauri used mass drivers and just literally, you know,
They
pummeled
they
the Narn
violated.
planet.
Yeah, they
Narn
violated.
homeworld.
They violated terms of, you know, intergalactic, you know, whatever.
Can you imagine
Yeah,
World War II? You're the American government, and there's a war coming. Who should we train? Don't train with pictures of German soldiers. Let's use who was probably? Oh yes, Polish or you know, the guys have already been taken over and destroyed. That would make total sense.
Yeah, this is the scene. Okay, so this is the scene where, Jeff, you were mentioning his arrogance comes through, where he's like, "Oh, you know, he's willing to sacrifice the Narn completely, you know, for this. It's just like, I don't even give a crap about them," and as well as
this is a building thing, because he expresses this. I've worked very hard. I, me. You know,
Right.
throughout this whole thing, this whole non-aggression thing is something that he is trying to bring about, and it's something that he's put all of his time and energy. Finally, my my grandchildren would know peace. You know, all 9, 12, 14, how many of them? You know.
Yeah, and this is where he gives his this is a piece in our time, which again, obviously JMS put that in there
Yes.
for a very specific reason, to refer to a very specific real historical event, and everyone knows it's world famous, right? For being this asinine, moronically optimistic move.
Right. Oh, sure. Well,
Jason,
it's okay. Go ahead and you know, if you can take over Poland for a buffer zone,
yeah,
and the next
right.
thing you know, they're in France, and you know, it's
Yeah,
the same.
exactly.
It's the same thing. You know, that now they're, you know, they
Right.
they attacked who did they attack first? Was it the Pakmara,
Pakmar and Drazi,
and then the Drazi, and then it's like, you know, and well, they're little worlds out in the middle. They're not even part of their main territory, right? That's and that kind of Londo kind of just shuffles
right.
it
Yeah,
off.
Londo played it off by that. But Jason, this is, you know, in my opinion, you were mentioning about the other one was kind of over the top and cartoonish. This one, in my opinion, also is cartoonish, to be having a guy literally mimicking Neville Chamberlain's moronic, you know, cheerleading for what became one of the greatest failures in history.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this particular?
Well, I think the line was probably unnecessary. It was an in your face, hey, remember this? And to be fair, you're in the 90s and it's a lot closer historically than it is now. And there was a lot more discussion back then about that line from Neville Chamberlain and what it led to. So it could very well be, you know, hindsight being what it is, we're looking at it different than it would have played in the 90s. And I think people watching it then, it may have a different kind of resonance than what we're getting out of it now.
Yeah, because any vets from World War II they're all gone now.
Yeah,
I think the last handful of them have passed away in the past decade. There are no remaining ones.
No, that's not true.
There was about I think there's
they're over 100 years old though.
Yeah, I mean, there's
well over 100 years.
There's
old.
a handful, but
I think I saw 3,000 or so. They're still alive.
Yeah, but nowadays,
Jason's right on that. That, you know, taking it from the 1990s point of view, you know, I was in high school in the mid 80s, and yeah, we were talking about that at Neville Chamberlain, the whole situation. You know, we did World War II, you know, 1 and 2. And we went well in depth in that, and we were talking about it. Do they talk about it today in the schools? No, not at all.
They should.
This would have hit harder in the 90s, is what I'm.
Yeah, it absolutely would.
Well, they would have been young. They would have been younger and still out in mass. I mean, you had a lot of. I mean, my grandfather was a World War II vet. He would be, 100 and he was born in 1917, something like that. You know, he would be well over 100 years old.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Aldous mentions, he says the line was not required, but the context works. And yes, it does. And again, JMS was clearly going for that kind of parallel it through much of the story.
Yeah, blatant. And he, like you said, he confirmed it in the the track there.
And you know, if you extend the analogy even further with Neville Chamberlain, you know, the whole peace in our time thing. The United States was pretty hands off up until Pearl Harbor. I mean, you had people going over and joining the Foreign Legion and the French Army and all that, but as a country, the United States was like, it's not our war. We can only do so. We're only going to do so much, and then Pearl Harbor happened, and of course everybody there's the contingency out there that said that thinks that Roosevelt let it happen so he could get us into the war or whatnot. Okay, fine, whatever. Your mileage may vary on that, but I find it's an interesting parallel that you have Babylon 5 as a location, as a station. It's neutral territory until Pearl Harbor. It's not, and in this case, it's not a sneak attack, but Sheridan is now faced with this thing
Twice
is
our
now on
war.
my front door.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I'm going to have to make a decision that I don't like, that I don't want to make, that nobody's going. It's not. None of it's going to be doing anybody any good. I've got to pick the best of the bad hands here. And you know, when the Narn ship shows up, and then when the Centauri ship shows up, is like, okay, I got a bag of skunks here. I'm just gonna have to make the best of it and do what works for the station and the people here, and I can't worry about any of the rest of it.
Yeah.
Well, see, in this case, though, the Neville Chamberlain, you know, that's he was the British, you know, right? And so, even though it's in this story, it's one faction technically. You're right in the sense that if you want to draw the parallel, Sheridan's kind of doing the Lend-Lease portion of it, right? Where of the U.S., where he's helping kind of clandestinely, whereas the Ministry of Peace is appeasing,
right?
You know, which is what the British tried to do.
Yeah.
And to be fair, and Neville Chamberlain was not the only one that was doing it. There were a lot of people here in the United States that were all gung ho for Hitler.
But you know what? Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that changed.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
but,
they saw.
But you also have to.
He's organizing Germany. Look at how great a job he's doing. Wait a minute, what happened next?
I mean, a lot of people. Henry Ford was. He was doing.
I mean,
there
were a lot of people, especially
until they like, oh crap, what are we doing? One of the things that I think we have to look at. From a retrospective perspective, to use that, is when this was written. What had happened when he was writing this? What was the recent events at that time in our real history? You know, when did the Gulf War start?
91.
Yeah, so. You know, he's saying, and we were in Iraq for some time, and then we stopped.
And that would be the
we were
first.
Like trying to be the non-aggression. Yeah, that would be
the first Iraq War.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The Gulf War.
Gulf
War. Yeah.
First Gulf War.
Yeah. Well, suffice it to say, there's a lot of historical parallels being referenced in this episode, and this is going to go further. Snob, did you have anything to say about this particular wind up? As we're getting to the
grunt a few times.
Yeah, I think you guys are a little off on your historical aspects of World War II. I mean, I think America was, very much ready to already to fight Germany, even if they weren't officially involved. There was Lend-Lease going on. There was training going on, and they weren't training to fight the British. They were training to fight the Japanese. And we've got some comments in the chat, about the American Navy. I mean, they kind of knew this was going on. So I think we're a little bit, under not going in enough. We're making statements that aren't, 100% accurate. I think, and there's the
different
FBI
elements
was,
though.
The FBI at the time was spending their time, we're talking about, there was an American, some of the American public that were supportive of Germany, and the FBI was watching them like hawks and consider them traitors, and was getting ready to, stomp on them and arrest them all as traitors if it ever came to that. So the whole idea
isn't necessarily
the American government.
Yeah,
and the government sentiment was going a certain way, and they were going that way, and the public was not, was kind of wishy-washy in some aspects of it. So I think those aspects are not correct, but that's history. I just want to make a comment on that.
History is always
a little more. There's a little more detail to it than what we've been mentioning. But
history has always been littered with situations where countries have been forced into war by certain issues, certain attacks. Certain,
my point is that America was already part of the way there. At least the government was, and the Lend-Lease program is basically what really won the war. America won the war.
Sure, but
and Lend-Lease
in terms of this show, though, none of this is necessarily has to be a direct parallel to the real world. It's certainly referencing things to be kind of portraying larger ideas, right? So and some of them are more ham-fisted than others.
You're right. I'm getting a little into the weeds about history and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you're wrong either. Everyone made good points on that. I'd like to go on to the kind of the ramp, the climax. The act. We're getting long here, and we still got a lot to go. Sure. Yeah. So now this is Londo makes his demand. He calls up Sheridan and demands they turn over the ship. And Sheridan's like, no, sorry, we got some problems. He run a diagnostic on that because he's just desperately trying to buy time at this point, right? And this is where everything starts happening all at once. Lance is in there complaining, and Sheridan tells him to get out of here. The Centauri ship comes in, and then we get into this what I think was a extremely well played out suspenseful action of escalation. Where the Centauri ship comes in and starts making threats, and they're targeting them, and then they target them back, and and then the crap hits the fan.
And they fired first. They shot first.
Right,
and they shot at both. They shot at both Babylon 5 and at and at the
ship and the fighters
and the fighters. Yeah, right. They nicked one of the they got one of the fighters. So
sure, they nicked a piece of Babylon 5 off the top.
Yeah, they cut a big chunk off it. But okay, who wants to go through the detail of it? Who hasn't had a chance to kind of lead a part of the discussion? Snob has declined before. Snob, you want to do it, or you want to let someone else?
No, you guys go ahead.
Okay. Are we back to Madman now?
Yeah.
Or
I say I'll pass this along on to someone else.
Jason, go.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
No, Cam, you do it.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I kind of did it quickly. They order Lance off. Sheridan orders Lance off. And Sheridan is standing by that he's going to protect the Narn ship. The Narn ship, he had previously overplayed their safety and told them to take their jump engines off because they needed. They were trying to treat some injured people and such, and they're like pressed for resources. So now they're really stuck. The Centauri ship comes in hot, and like we said, started going after the Narn ship. And so they launch fighters to surround the Narn ship to try and escort it to the gate. The Centauri ship is blocking the gate. And then this is where this back and forth goes that I think really played out really nicely.
Suspenseful and dramatic too.
Right. It really, I thought it was done. Yeah, exactly. Because again, it's like step, going towards this. And then I forgot who said it. They're like, oh crap. And then the Centauri ship opens fire. And as Jeff, you mentioned, they're firing on everything. They are, I mean,
and mind you, there's Londo's on board Babylon 5.
Right.
So it's
like they're out of control, with their arrogance at this point. We didn't really see the commander. We didn't talk to the commander of the, ship. He was off screen essentially, but we see his actions. So he's, they start going into it, and, Babylon 5 starts going. And I think at first the fighters were out there, and then I think they got hit. And as I recall, Sheridan said something like, go at, full bore, basically. It was like,
he told them
launch everything.
If they launch anything, all
weapons free.
Fire at will,
Right. For the fighters. And then, and Babylon 5 was kind of acting defensively, trying to shoot down the incoming.
They were firing anti whatever type of weapons. I forget what they're called, but that was the white, bluish white ones were basically, the interception.
Yeah, the point defense stuff.
Right? Yeah, note that these were new plasma cannons that were delivered in the episode Gropos.
Yes, they were, and that was now And the point of this was to ramp up, and so look, Babylon 5 has some teeth. It's not
Right.
a completely as defenseless as it was before, and it's not completely defenseless, as we were maybe initially led to believe in.
Dean puts it good in the chat that when or before the firing start, the ping is almost like the submarine ping. There's like boom. boom
it actually was a submarine ping, by the way.
Yeah.
That's literally the sound
that's
effect that they used. It was confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
And by design,
And-
which weird because obviously a ping wouldn't work, but I think it was to impress this is an attack, and we're gonna
Well, and it also is part of that escalation, right? It's like
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Sheridan does have them target the Centauri ship, offensively, and then the Narn ship, the fighters do get it. They escort it into the gate, and they go with them, which we'll touch
Yep.
on where that goes.
Yep.
And then the Centauri ship is damaged, and then Sheridan says, send medical ships out or wherever, and then it's like too late. Boom, it goes.
And we weren't really targeting we were targeting their weapons. So I suspect it would have been like a weapon overload type of thing where we're hitting their weapons as they're getting ready to fire on us. And
yeah, as I recall, the Narn ship was not firing.
They didn't. The Narn ship didn't fire at all. No.
Yeah, they were just trying to get the hell out of
Now,
there.
the actor that played the war leader Nakal in the episode on the Narn ship, he was in. That's Robin Sachs. He played in Galaxy Quest. Yeah, he was. What the hell was his name?
Sarek.
Saris.
Sarah's the bad guy.
Saris in there.
But I mean, it took a lot of resolve, I'm sure, for the Narn captain to not fire on.
Well, he was damaged. He's heavily damaged.
He may not have been able to.
I think he put all his energy in his engines and said, "Let's get the hell out of here." I can't.
Yeah, they didn't even have good propulsion at that point. They I think he mentioned something about that. They could only
his jump gate.
They were
wasn't working.
Yeah, they were not even. Well, they couldn't jump, but they weren't even able to maneuver on full.
Yeah, they had to use the existing jump gate to get out of there.
Right. And so they did. And so so the active fight ends, and like Madman, you mentioned, like one of the spines on the top of Babylon 5 got blown off.
Yeah.
For example. Okay. So now, Snob, let's start with you for the comments on this, if I've sufficiently run through the details, or anything I missed. What do you think?
I'd just like to say, hey, we got 20 people in the watching the show. Hey, thanks for coming by. Appreciate that.
Okay,
awesome.
Jason.
No, that's just my
okay.
start. Come on, I got to do the.
Okay.
I'm the host. I got to do some of the administrative things right now. All right. So, I mean, what do you want to talk about? Like, what aspect?
Well, whatever you want. It's just, what did you think of the scene?
I enjoyed the scene. I thought it was a great scene, good action scene. Spending a little bit of the, they're not spending all of the budget, but they save a little back for the special effects of it. I thought it was, very well done. I enjoyed the aspect of it. Yeah, I mean, it seemed fairly straightforward. I find it interesting. I guess the only, if I'm trying to find a discussion thing to speak about it, I think maybe that it was interesting that the cruiser, I think, fired on everybody at once, right? It fires on Babylon 5.
It did a spread. You saw like 3 different spreads going out.
Yeah, it fires on Babylon 5, it fires on the fighters, and it fires on the Narn ship. Now you can see why it would fire on the Narn ship, and you'd think it would wait on the other two and go, hey, maybe we can shoot this Narn ship up.
Maybe Londo's not as important as he thinks.
Yeah, that's our job. Instead of trying to kill, 500,000 citizens of various places that'd be pissed off. I think that, perhaps we're trying to say something about the arrogance of at least of the Centauri in general, or at least this ship in particular, because it seems very odd. Like, if I was in that situation, brazen, exactly, that's the word. I mean, my job is to kill the Narn ship, so let's focus on that, all my fire on that, and then maybe these other guys won't shoot at me, right? But
the Centauri battle cruisers are advanced. That's why they were able to overtake the Narn. Even without the shadows up, they were able to take the Narn very, very easily, because those cruisers are they just pound, and of course,
But
and you can
that
see it in this
aside,
particular shift. The mass driver device was attached to the ship still.
that aside, you would think that, like, if you're going to go, hey, do I want to fight 3 different groups of people or just one? Like, my job is to get the one, so let's focus on that, and then maybe the other 2 will leave me alone, right? But I think it's the arrogance aspect of the.
Remember what Sheridan
Gambit's
said in
trying
the
to show.
beginning.
The Centauri's emboldened by
Yeah, they're
their
both.
success.
They will cut. They will go into being knocked out in a maneuver, and go into autopilot, and then regain consciousness and get the shot out.
But again, still, that's not focusing on your goal. If your goal is to take out the Narn, then you should be. That's what they should be focusing on, not splitting it. But I'd be curious to see what you guys think of that. If you agree with me or not. Are they just being arrogant? What's the deal? Like,
well, no. Remember, at this point, the Centauri is spreading outward. They haven't signed the non-aggression. Earth has not signed the non-aggression pact as of yet. So basically, we're to the point where the Centauri battlecruiser that was coming in, they knew that Babylon 5 was going to defend the Narn ship. Obviously, if you send Star Furies out to defend the ship, you're going to get shots at you from the station itself. So take on the station, take on the ship, and take on the Star Furies all at once. And hopefully you call for backup, and backup will get there on time.
that's a reasonable take for my.
Well, I think it might have been kind of a distraction. Hey, let's occupy them as well as go after our objective and these little annoying Star Furies that are harassing us. And ultimately it was Babylon 5 that took out the Centauri ship. It wasn't
the Narn don't fire at all.
that
Right?
did it. The Narns did not fire at all. I watched it 3 times and I don't think I saw that at all. They weren't capable of it. So they were not the aggressors. This would look like, somebody come up and just start shooting at you,
It's sort of a remnants of Deep Space Nine when the Klingons attacked Deep Space Nine, and they're like, "Oh, you don't got no additional weapons. Those are all just photonic shadows and stuff like that." And then suddenly, you got photon torpedoes coming out of everywhere, every orifice of the station.
Yeah. Just Dean. I mean, you're right. They might have known that the non-aggression pact was going to be signed, but then that would be sort of a reason why, hey, maybe we shouldn't fire on the Earth ships because that could affect.
Could jeopardize it.
Yeah.
And to me, it should have jeopardized it right there. But we'll get to that when we get to that last segment.
Yeah. How about Jason? What do you think of this scene overall?
Well, I think it's a logical progression of things getting heated, and you have peace in our time. Well, of course, the payoff is we're not at peace. We don't have peace on our front door. I think also too, the Centauri at this point, besides their expansion policy, they are at a point where we're going to roll over everything having anything to do with the Narn territory, and we have a right to attack and destroy this ship, whether you've got whether it's under your protection or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
And we're going to do this because this is what we're doing. Because we're the Centauri and we're big bad on the block, and you can't stop us. It's arrogant. It's arrogant. You can't stop us.
We're seeing what
anyway.
Londo's, the way Londo was with his arrogance. Now, among additional Centauri, we're seeing that from other people too, from other Centauri. We've seen it in probably the past 6 episodes. Since they started the war with the Narn, and ultimately, and we know that they started it. I don't think that's the narrative that's been spun to the people, of Centauri or to Earthdome, but we know as an audience that is the case, that they're, this is all Londo's doing. Londo's the one that pulled the trigger. He was manipulated to pulling the trigger, but we know that's what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do we want to move to the aftermath of this attack? We've got basically the meeting with Sheridan and Lance and Wells.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just tee it up, and then we can go into the details. This is basically Wells is fuming about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Lance is fuming about it, and Sheridan says, "Hey, you want me to ignore orders? This is standing. This is the regulations. I have to do this." And this is what you guys were talking. You're referring to earlier.
Right.
Is when this comes to pass. And then Wells kind of steps in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you did do the right thing, but you're still responsible because you could have told us about this, and then we could have undercut you."
Could have avoided it, and he points that out.
Right. And then they turn it back on him, where it's like, and now your orders are to apologize, because that's the price of continue. The Centauri said they'll go forward with this. All they need you to do is apologize. You're ordered to apologize. If you don't, you're going to be replaced. And so then it's like, oops, now what do I? They got him, right.
Replaced with someone more reasonable.
Right. Madman, you want to, or
yeah, let him take it.
Go with that. Yeah.
No, you look into the point how this whole conversation, Mr. Lance is, he's saying, you jeopardized our situation, and Wells comes in and he goes like, well, he did what he's supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
But and the way he does it, and Jason mentioned cartoony, being a little cartoony, but these characters can be cartoony to the point when they're putting their steps up on this, because you have this point where Sheridan's sitting there and he says, like, listen, I did my job. Why you guys are coming on me, for that point? The Joint Chiefs already agree with me on this. So now why do I have to apologize at this, to that point? And they said, well, this is going to be the part of the situation. We're doing this whole non-aggression pact and all that. And, the way this has to be signed, you're going to have to, step up and do the job that we're telling you to do. Go and apologize, to that point,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get, we get a lot of, there's a whole build up, and I don't know if you want to, if we want to save that next thing that what happens when he's getting ready or trying to prepare himself.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
No, before you go on that, there is another point that you guys missed.
Go ahead.
What was Ivanova's Christmas gift to Sheridan?
It was a piece of the
piece of the Black Star.
of the Black Star. Now, about a couple episodes back, I mentioned the importance of the situation of Sheridan being here and who he is, what he's done, to the point. Ivanova enforces that right back again, that Sheridan is the kind of person that will, tactically think, what can I do? And he does it. And he doesn't believe how can we put it? We'll put it in the Star Trek terms. He doesn't believe in the no-win scenario.
The Kobayashi Maru.
Kobayashi Maru. He doesn't believe in the no-win scenario. And and that's being, and Ivanova is reinforcing that on him, before
reminding him of, don't forget who you are, and
right.
and he very much takes that to heart. Well, the reason I asked is I'm wondering if because this, of course, leads up to him doing this preparation, and JMS called it this. He being stubborn and true to his core beliefs. It's his Patton moment. Patton had to apologize or something at some point, but he did it in a Patton-like manner.
Yeah.
And so we're hearing what he's going to say, and as he's getting prepared to go to this event.
Yeah, he's going to spike the whole thing, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe not. We don't know. He's at least rehearsing his spike.
He doesn't get to, and I'm wondering if we should go to the the part with the Kefir before we go to that big reveal part.
Well, no.
Well, let me comment on this as well.
Can I go? Can I quote
Yeah, go ahead.
Sheridan on this?
Sure.
On that, before we go any further, he goes, he exhales. He says, "I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we had to defend ourselves against an unwarranted attack. I'm sorry that your crew was stupid enough to fire on a station filled with 250,000 civilians, including your own people. And I'm sorry I waited as long as I did before I blew them all straight to hell."
Yep. And that was that was his patent speech, basically. Is what he was referring to.
What I think is interesting about this is that, I mean, this is a big, let's say that Sheridan doesn't apologize and gets removed. I mean, this is a giant hole in the whole conspiracy of light and the whole forces of light. If
right,
he's a pivotal guy. Like, I mean, he's putting he's risking the entire war, and possibly the galaxy falling into darkness because he's pissed off. He doesn't want to suck it in and apologize a little bit. It seems a little bit off to me. Like, there's a lot of bigger things than your pride and
luckily,
but doing the wrong thing for the right reason, is no better than doing the right thing for the wrong reason.
I agree with Snob on this one. It's like, if he would have been able to go through with that, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah, how many trillions of beings are going to be cursed to fall into the darkness for God knows how long because you're mad because you didn't want to apologize.
Well, it's also possible that it's hard to we can kind of see that a little better as the audience maybe than he can, because he still only has a limited view of what's really going on. I mean, they're talking about this army of light and doing all this stuff, but he's also kind of mired in it's like, yeah, I'm trying to help these Narn guys out. You know what I'm saying? It's like he might not be able to see the forest for the trees.
Exactly. And that's what I was alluding to earlier when I said, he's about his perhaps still wanting to be, optimistic that Earthdom is going to do the right thing, Yeah,
well, I guess he got his answer on that, though.
Well, oh yeah, clearly, he at this point, all that, all that's over, at this point, because now he's being ordered to apologize for something that he did the right thing on.
Right.
No, that's wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So now, I'm sorry, Jason, did you have anything to say about that?
No, you guys covered it pretty well.
Okay. So now we're getting to, he's heading off to the to the meeting. So they're planning to do this. They're gathering all the ambassadors in the Zen Garden. They said something about why, which was nice to explain why they were doing that there, to give it a reason to, enable the rest of the story to happen. And like Snob went through at the beginning, he's going on the tram, to travel to the garden, and the Centauri guys don't appear to be connected to anybody in particular, but apparently have access to bombs on the station. Garibaldi, nice job. Get on the thing with them, and then they wait until other people have gotten off, and then they leave this bomb there with Sheridan. And
it's probably the same guys with the high kicks in that fight scene with the Narn.
Yeah, these are the
other episode.
Centauri ninja.
Right? Did you see the way the guy was looking at him the whole time, side-eyeing him? I'd be like, that guy's going to try. I was watching the scene. I'm like, that guy's going to try something. He's going to beat him up or something.
I thought that the minute he walked by them and
they're going to knife him.
Zocalo or in the main area before he even got on the tram, clearly he was followed by these two guys.
He's the captain of the station. He should be a little more aware of his surroundings when he's, in public transit and stuff.
Well, he's usually packing heat too, so
Yeah.
But that's not going to do. What's a gun going to do versus a bomb?
So they set the bomb. Sheridan does notice it.
Because they get off. Everybody gets off of the tram at this last station before it gets to the one that he would have to go to get to the Zen Garden.
Right.
And did you notice what the bomb looked like?
Looked like a seashell to me.
It's the Centauri hair.
Was it?
The Centauri hair,
Kinda.
like it had the same shape as the Centauri
that's kind
hair.
of a giveaway there, I guess.
Yeah. So it was clearly a Centauri bomb.
More arrogance.
Well, I mean, the bomb was in the place where the guy was sitting, and then
Yes,
he gets
right.
up and leaves. He gives the side eye to Sheridan.
He didn't even put it under the seat, for God's
I
sake.
know.
He just-
That was my other thing. I'm
He
like,
left it
put
in
under the
his
seat, and you might
right
not
to
see
the back of the seat.
Leave it
How
right
else do
there
that?
where he can see it, and maybe he'll escape.
Okay, so
Anyway.
everyone's waiting in the garden, and Sheridan quickly figures out he's got to get out of there, so he overrides it. Has the doors open and leaps out into the low gravity section. Because there's not real gravity; it's just due to the rotation. So he's basically floating, and everybody sees this because they're in the garden conveniently. So they see the explosion and then him floating down, and Ivanova says, realizes what's going to happen. She calls for a team with jetpacks to come. This is another scene that has a good escalation, as kind of a back and forth.
Yeah.
And so
the music is helping to build this too.
Yeah. And we haven't seen Delenn in this episode until this scene, or so she's there, and she kind of like pulled Kosh aside to talk to him about something apparently, and so Ivanova's calling for a jetpack team to grab him because she mentions that the rotation is, he's basically going to slam into the rotation at 60 miles an hour.
Yep.
and be killed by that. And they're like, we'll be there in 2 minutes, and she's like, you got 30 seconds. So, and they you're hearing this over the comm, and they're like, we can't make it. And then it goes to Delenn's like, you have to Kosh, he says you have to do something. And then you see the suit start to open. Yep. and light come out. And then does someone else want to take this? I've talked a lot. Does someone else want to describe what happened?
Well, you get to the point where you see something going up, something bright, and then you hear the ruffle of wings, as we heard in another episode.
Right.
That ruffle that we hear, and basically as Kosh,
I told you I heard that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I brought it up.
And I think we saw Delenn's reaction first, right?
Yeah. Delenn looks up and she sees what looks like a Minbari. And
Minbari-ish kind of
character.
And she names it.
Yeah, and then there's others, the Drazi, they're all like saying, the gods from their worlds. It's Drashana and this one and that, and going up. The only one that just sits there bewildered is Londo.
Right. He's just kind of looking up, and
he's looking up and he doesn't know
what is everybody looking at.
What is everybody looking at?
Right.
Yeah.
And then we see Sheridan, right, as he's coming up to Sheridan.
And he looks human. Gosh, looks human.
Yeah, kind of an androgynous sort of angelic figure.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is what clearly it was intended, and so we were right, Snob, about the whole we know that the Vorlons are basically like angels or angelic beings.
Put that in my pipe and smoke it. There you go.
Well, no. Let's. But this is what they want us to see.
Right.
We don't know if that is their original look.
Well, sure, but I mean that's what we said. This is good versus evil. This is light versus dark. This is heaven versus hell, or whatever. But the interesting fact is that the people are. From the different races are seeing their equivalent to an angelic type or a godlike or demigod-like, whatever.
Some kind of religious figure in each case.
And why is that?
I don't know.
Well,
the Volons have been on their worlds and have touched their worlds, influenced their worlds. And basically, the legends that you hear about angelic stories and gods and beings and stuff like that, you could say that
it's true.
Most of it's been based on the Volons.
Yeah, that's what JMS is presenting here, and they discuss this a little bit at the end, but that they have been to all their worlds and they have influenced people.
The Vorlons are.
This is what I think is interesting. Now, I wasn't sure watching the episode. Everyone seems to think that Londo didn't see anything. I first thought that perhaps Londo saw something, but he just denied it simply because he doesn't want to, realize that he's on the side of evil. but other people say that he didn't actually see anything. And if he didn't see anything, that means that perhaps the Vorons have never been to Centauri Prime.
No,
So I think that's interesting, like that the Centauri are not, if you look at sort of the chosen people, everyone else seems to be the chosen people, but the Centauri are not. I'm kind of, I think
I've
it's
done.
interesting
I just
that mess there.
last 2 days I've done some additional work on this. And
Okay.
I've been looking up on this particular scene itself and wondering, what did Londo see something? Did not see something? Some of the stuff that I've procured, mentions that his arc, that he doesn't see anything, that his character was at a point that he had lost his moral compass and connection to any form of spiritual guidance, and that's mostly what a lot that I found. But there is a novel called Legions of Fire, which expands on this, that suggests that Londo did see something shapeless, binding light, but refuses to admit it.
I would buy that.
Is
I think
Londo
that
the only one who can't see him, or is this all Centaur?
We don't know.
I chalk it up to him being touched by the darkness, and he's being blinded by darkness.
I think okay. Well, that scene where Londo actually, So during this scene, we just see Londo looking up, kind of confused.
Like, what is everybody else looking up? What's
everyone else is looking up in awe and like saying something. They're like naming what they're seeing, right? And Sheridan. I guess we skipped the part. Kosh catches Sheridan and then takes him somewhere. So
even says Kosh.
Right, and Sheridan it's like he figured
gives kind of this nod. I think it was
right. He just nods. He doesn't say anything, and then he disappears. So I think the idea is that no one, for sure, no one saw.
Does he get back in his suit, or did he just?
Yeah, presumably he does come back to his suit.
PB, that's mentioned in the episode itself, that basically everybody sees to that point. That you would assume that. Everybody sees something different, so there has to be some sort of manipulation.
Yeah, I think they do mention it because so then this is the aftermath from this scene, where Sheridan is talking about it. He says, "Oh yeah, everybody's a buzz," and the whole station is a buzz with this, and they're all talking about.
The station is blessed.
Well, right,
and remember, go back one episode to the Inquisitor, that the Volons were on Earth. They basically captured Jack the Ripper and took him back with them and showed him the reason why he was wrong and what he was doing into the situation on there. How many other worlds have they influenced in the same direction? You have to put that in mind.
That goes back to an episode of Star Trek, Assignment Earth, where Gary 7, right? You have this alien force that recruits humans, people born on Earth. They take them off to this planet. They train them in various different things, special skills, whatnot. And then they assign them to a planet to maintain the integrity of the timeline through future events. And I think the idea of the Vorlons being angels or whatever, you get to play with what other people's perceptions are. And I think also the fact that everybody sees something different based on their own
civilization,
their own reality, their own civilization, I thought was a nice touch.
I think it harkens. It harkens back to real quick. It harkens back to when Kosh said, that everyone would recognize him. This is the fulfillment of that line.
Right.
Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it may be one of those things where the minds of lower beings, those ants crawling on the proverbial, stem of the flower, can't perceive of something of that magnitude, and so we're wired as sentient beings to try to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And I think that may go to that, why each race sees it as something that they would recognize or acknowledge. That it would be it would be in a shape that is something that in a form that they would recognize as like them but different, as opposed to something that they could not rationalize. It was like seeing the face of God, that type of thing.
I just wanted to mention here as well. This isn't my own idea. I'm doing a little research as well. Come up, and there's been suggestions. Something about like why don't the Centauri see, Kosh? Is that just Londo? Is it all Centauri? And perhaps is it, have the Vorlons never openly visited the Centauri? And if so, why not? Or is it perhaps the Centauri worship their deceased emperors as gods? Has that somehow diminished the effect of exposure to the Vorlons? So I thought that was kind of an interesting aspect. There's no answers, just
maybe they never advanced spiritually.
Well, I think
they are very materialistic. I mean, all of their deities are materialistic type things, and not spiritual.
Let's go around the horn on that. I just want to mention one thing about I had a note here that I don't remember what the quote was, but I have it in my notes that the show something about the shadows of Erebus, and they know the Vorlons are acting now. So this was a cat out of the bag moment here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Begun the Shadow Wars have.
Yeah. Now, and then the scene after this is where we get to the thing that you guys were talking about in regards to Londo. We've got the different the Drazi and the Narn guy. They're saying, "Oh no, it was this guy and it was this guy." And Londo's kind of sitting off to the side as they're having this discussion, and they kind of both agree. It's like I think the Narn guy says, "It doesn't matter. It's a good sign. This place is blessed, because the presence of this religious figure, appeared here." And then the Drazi guy says, Ambassador, which it's a little strange that he's being so friendly given he's just been invaded by the Centauri, but he's like, "Ambassador Malari, what did you see?" And Londo, in my opinion, says very candidly, "Nothing. I saw nothing."
Yeah.
Now, okay, so everyone has a different opinion on that, and you guys apparently have been looking into it. I'll start from my original, and it holds to this day. I think he really saw nothing, and I think it is not particularly complex, and it's basically reinforcing the idea that Londo is lost, aka being in hell is being disconnected from God, right? And that's Straczynski is not a Christian or a theist. He's an atheist. So I'm not saying he's trying to make a statement about religion necessarily, other than maybe that non-religion and it's aliens, but I think it's symbolic for Londo's character as to where he is. He's in hell, or he is disconnected from the good or the light or whatever. I think it's kind of that. Now I'm interested in hearing what everyone's leading theory is, though. What do you really take from it? Jason, you want to go first on what?
I think Londo didn't see anything, and I think it really bothers him that he didn't see anything. He's hearing all of these people talk about, whatever this thing is, and he's like, "Yeah, what are you all looking at?" You can see it in his face when it happens. And then this aftermath where they're talking about what they saw, and they ask him. I'm surprised he admitted he saw nothing. But when he does admit that, you see him angry at himself. I think
Is it a come to Jesus moment?
No, not yet. I think it feels every now and again, it feels like they don't have a handle on how Londo feels about what he's doing. Because sometimes it feels like he's laying into it whole hog. Let's go, grab the horse and hold on. And other times he's second thoughts, not sure of himself, kicking himself. How did I get into this situation? The regret and all of that. And it feels like those two characterizations are fighting each other depending on who's writing the script. For that episode.
JMS wrote these past several scripts. So.
I know,
Well,
but
remember, going back to what
like,
they said about Londo, what Garibaldi had said, is that he's looks like he's on
afraid.
a wild horse,
Right.
bucking, and he's trying to tighten, his grip on the situation.
Right,
And
but
Lon-
it's with that in mind, there are times and this could be Peter Jurassic's portrayal just as much as it is anything else in the script. There are times when it looks like he's fully embracing that I'm leading the war and we're going to get ours back. And other times it's like, what the heck am I doing here? How did we get here? How do I get off this crazy train? It's almost like we got two Londos in the show sometimes. So,
well, I think I would suggest that that's intentional. He has these two different sides. Because remember in the episode when they were bombing Narn, we saw his inside view. He was horrified by it, right? And he and like Garibaldi tells us, right? I mean, Garibaldi tells us he's scared. So he's and like Madman said, he's riding this wild horse or got the tiger by the tail. He's stuck. He doesn't know what to do, I think.
Veer has warned him, and you hear Veer has told him, and you're here in the beginning of the episode. He says, think things are not going that well. It's becoming just madly insane. Londo's not being Londo. He's just not what he was before. This has become an issue now, and the thing is that what is next? What on that? You have this whole situation. And of course you got to toss back to the early episodes of him and those visions that he's having onto there. That's leading into one direction. Is it those visions going to come true to that point? And you have to ask yourself, when you see him like this and you see those visions, what's going to happen next? For his character.
Yeah. Jeff, what's your best take?
I don't think he saw Kosh. I don't think I'm going to go back to, I think he is shrouded in darkness so much that he can't see the light.
Okay.
He's blinded to it. And I don't think it's denial. I don't think he saw something and then he just is rejecting that as a possibility. I think he literally doesn't see it, just like Jason said. He doesn't see it. He's oblivious to it. Now the question is, did he see Sheridan falling, and then suddenly see Sheridan float to the ground? And that is another question that I don't think was answered.
Yeah, he might have just seen something like what the heck is happening there,
Like he may have seen something miraculous but not have any explanation for how this miraculous. How did he land like that, And suddenly he's back here and what? I don't get it, and and that's plausible, but as far as seeing Kosh and the light, I don't think he did see that.
I just had a thought. It's a Centauri who leaves the bomb on the tram.
Mm-hmm.
What's Londo going to do when he finds out it was a Centauri who left the bomb on the tram? Does he know about these activities that are starting on the station? Is he privy to this kind of stuff? Is this some kind of an underground subversive, citizens taking it upon themselves to do this stuff because Sheridan's a sympathizer for the Narn? How is that going to play?
It's Night Watch. They're. I think this is very much Night Watch is funding these.
Wait, you think? Okay, you think Night Watch? You think
Night Watch is doing this?
I think Night Watch. I don't think. Yes, I think Night Watch is trying to. Sheridan is a problem, and we need to eliminate this problem. I don't think
hang on.
Lance knows.
No, I don't accept that because, as we discussed earlier, if the Ministry of Peace is an official government entity, as Wells said,
The Ministry of Peace.
we have to do, but Sheridan, if we don't like the way Sheridan is doing it, Wells even says this. All we have to do is get you reassigned and have somebody else in here who's more cooperative.
But if they take Sheridan out, that short circuits everything right then
Yeah,
and
but
there.
then he becomes a martyr. They're not going to do that. That's
There
the
could
bad
be
political-
political reasons why it might be harder to remove Sheridan than just
because he
got to get him to do something wrong. They just can't get rid of
No,
him.
you see the point with the Centauri. Centauri tend to act onto themselves. Similarities like the Mirror universe in Star Trek. Where you're on the Enterprise and somebody's gonna kill you. Take over your place. This is the point where the Centauri is like, I don't. He took out our ship. I think we need to take him out. We've seen this in other episodes where the Centauri have acted onto themselves, where they've done things, where they've beaten up Narns, without being ordered to beat up Narn, to provocate the whole situation. And this is what happened with these guys. They basically planted a bomb because they wanted revenge.
Yeah.
They would have had to know.
Knifing Sheridan would have been pretty easy to get a sharp object. A bomb is a little bit more difficult.
Poison Drazi blade.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's a little bit harder to do. So, I mean, you might be right. I think it's an open question. Jeff might be right. It could, maybe EarthGov is behind it. Maybe they're behind it.
I don't think necessarily EarthGov, but I think Sheridan has a lot. Remember, Sheridan is a decorated war veteran. He took out a Minbari, the only one.
That's the least likely
option. There's going to be political.
Yeah, but it's not the Minbari going after him. But I think that's the least likely one. But I think the interesting question would be:
No.
Is Londo aware of this or not? Is this a government? Is the Centauri trying to take him out, or is?
Yeah, I think the Centauri
are trying to take him out. It just a bunch of Centauri and just Londo?
I don't think they're freelancers. No, not at all. I don't buy that for a minute. Nope. Sorry, man. I don't think they were just. I don't think they were just lone wolves. I think this was, and I don't think Londo knew about it because I don't think Londo would have gone that.
No, he wouldn't have ordered that. But you got to remember, like in the fight scene between the Centauri in the bar,
Rifa
remember that. I'm sorry.
I said Rifa certainly might have.
Well, Rifa wasn't on the station.
Rifa didn't have to be on the station to order.
No, I'm saying but Rifa.
And obviously Londo found out information about that. I'm sure that Rifa was made aware that there was this ship because they sent their cruiser in to come and take out the Narn ship. So, it may have been a matter of at your earliest opportunity, take Sheridan out. He's a problem, and we're going to have issues. And he's threatening our domination of the galaxy.
Just look at the Centauri. Just look at the Centauri.
I'm sure the Centauri have their version of an intelligence organization, and the Centauri CIAs are going to tell Londo, "Hey, we're going to assassinate this guy because he might spill." They
wouldn't tell him. They'd keep him in the dark. Why tell him?
Yeah, of course.
Plausible deniability. If you tell him and he knows, and it ever comes out that he actually knew about it, that's an act of war. But if it just kind of so happened that a lone wolf, quote unquote, did it, because they were pissed. Now, there's no way they were lone wolves.
I think Weatherman's got a good point here.
Yeah,
it's a good point. So, I mean, I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter so much. It's interesting to see which way it'll go. But if we'll ever know. But all of it are possibilities.
Okay, Snob, did you have any? What's your leading take on that?
About this whole thing?
What Londo saw.
Yeah, I think I pretty much covered it. I'm not sure which it is. I think it's an interesting idea, and I think JMS does a good job of not telling us one way or the other, and we can speculate on it. or he can leave it, to give us that answer in the future. Yeah, it's well done in that sense. And it's interesting as to how things might go in the future or what it says about the various races and stuff. But yeah, I don't think there's an answer given to us. I appreciate that.
Okay, Madman, did you get a chance to say what your
Yeah, no, I said on to there. I
All
mean, we're still going over to the ending, correct?
Yeah.
Same with Kefir.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the last thing
There's
we
one
got.
thing I
in-
want to
Well,
mention before
I'd
you
like
start
to
on
talk
Kefir.
about. I like to talk about Ivanova. I mentioned Ivanova too. So I think
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
when we
that's
go
all part
there.
of it. There's the whole
in-
wrap. There's the whole Kepler thing, and then the final wrap up.
Yeah,
that
the voiceover.
this
No,
is what
I
happened
mean,
after, and it kind of is forwarding us to the next.
yeah,
Getting
I mean
us prepped
Ivanova
for
and
the next
Wells.
season.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I find it. I think this was an interesting interchange between Wells and Ivanova, and I think it was well done by both actors. It seems reasonable to me what Wells states, even the fact that he's saying, this offer will remain open. I think Ivanova refusing right off the bat is, I think that fits with her character and it shows something stronger about her character. However, I would say that, the Babylon 5 command crew know that there's a conspiracy going on and they're part of it. Wouldn't the smart thing for her to do at least say, hey, let me think about it, right? And then go to Sheridan and discuss it, and then maybe come to the conclusion that, hey, double agent, I'll go in with these guys. We can feed them false information. We can maybe find out a little bit more of what they're up to. They're going into a big conspiracy here. Like, shouldn't she be a little smarter? About even just for the, even if she's like, okay, well, I don't want to do this because, I'm an honorable person, but yeah, now it's time to perhaps, try to find out what the other side is up to and maybe feed them some false information. They can gain a lot even by what they ask Ivanova to tell them about. That gives a good idea of what they're, what they might be thinking.
Put her in as kind of a double agent.
Double agent, exactly. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised that I'm kind of surprised that these, they're the good guys and all, but they seem to be completely unaware of how conspiracies work and all this,
it
this
wouldn't
kind of
work
stuff.
with Ivanova that well. You have to remember that basically she's been hiding, and she's been hiding her true self for quite some time, and she doesn't want to expose that. We already know that from the back episode, about her mother being, telepathic, and that basically they made her take the drugs and stuff like that. But before, she taught Ivanova how to protect herself to that. Don't let them know that, you have, some sort of, telepathy that you could use, that basically, keep that hidden from them. And she's kept that hidden from everybody for a long time.
Right. But we're not asking her to give up her telepathy or
anything. No, it's not that you give the telepathy. Her trust with everyone. And this is one of the reasons why she looks at Night Watch the same way she looks at the Psychor. Same way at that point. And she doesn't want to involve herself, no matter even if it was going to help. She's not going to lay in bed in the same type of group that she's been trying to avoid all her life.
Right. And I agree with that. Then, and it shows something about her character. But this is the fate of the galaxy. Is what we're talking about here. Dark versus light. Maybe you need to compromise a little bit in order to, and at least if, I would have, the show is only so long, you can't put everything there. But if she'd gone to Sheridan and said, hey, I want to, this guy said this to me. What should we do? Should I go and feed them information? And then maybe he'd ask her, hey, what do you want to do? And she'd come out and say, listen, no, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm a straight shooter, blah, blah, blah. And then she'd go and refuse. That would be, you'd still get the character moment, but at least it would show us that the command crew is thinking a little bit about these sort of issues and stuff. But, it's not a big thing one way or the other. But I thought that they would be a little bit more aware, since we saw Sheridan and Garibaldi sneaking around in the bathroom and, checking for bugs and then talking there. Imagine you were that that I don't know, was it a Pakmara or Drazi or whatever? You come out and you see, the head of security and the captain in the, the sort of the general, washroom for everybody's use. You'd be like, doesn't, I'm pretty sure the captain's got his own bathroom. What are they meeting here for? Like, what's going on? Like, it's kind of suspicious. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, so we want to talk about Kefir now. His scene. It kind of started at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where we saw him on maneuvers and everything, and he had previously been ordered to drop the whole looking into the shadows thing because they're worried about he might inadvertently stumble into something and expose it and such. But he gets wind of another squadron leader. They've seen the ghost. Some other pilots are talking about the ghost. They've seen in hyperspace and things like that, referring to the shadows. And so this other guy kind of grudgingly gives him some information that allows Kefir to maybe track this. So Kefir kind of goes against what Sheridan had told him, and apparently configured his ship to be able to do this. So he was in the squadron that was launched to defend the Narn ship and was led them out into hyperspace. So they were escorting them, and he picked up a reading and went and chased after it. Lo and behold, he finds a shadow ship. I know we're getting long here, so cut to the chase. He follows it and is recording it, and then we see, from his perspective, him in shock and a flash of light. Then we come around to the end right before the epilogue, and we get that somehow, I'm not sure exactly how this happened, but this footage of his gun camera essentially recording this a shadow ship in hyperspace, clear as day, has been leaked and is on ISN. Oh, does it come out? Is it the very last thing?
It's the very last thing. Let me put it this
Very
way.
last.
Okay, sorry, I blew that.
The line was, it was the end of the Earth year 2259, and the war was upon us. As we anticipated, a few days later, the Earth-Centauri Treaty was announced. The Centauri widened their war to include many of the non-aligned worlds, and there was another war brewing closer to home, a personal one, whose cost could be higher than any of us could imagine. We came to this place because Babylon 5 was our last best hope for peace. By the end of 2259, we knew that it had failed.
Yeah, and
but in doing so, it became something greater. As the war expanded, it became our last best hope for victory. Because sometimes peace is another word for surrender, and because secrets have a way of getting out. That's
and
then
the
ISN report.
Right, and it very importantly, over that voiceover, they were showing a few scenes. One of them was Londo ranting in a very noticeable gesture with his fists, and everything. Again, seeming to be a reference to 1930s Germany. In the council room, he's as they're talking about them invading and all that. And then we see Zach observing a shopkeeper being dragged away by the Night Watch, and his
closed,
his store being closed.
Edition.
Right, exactly.
By the Nazis.
Yeah, right. And then like I said, then we see this leaked footage, and then there's a little bit of commentary from the news reporter, I think, right, that talks about, well, we don't know what this is, but Earth Force says they're looking into it or something like that. So the cat's out of the bag again, in another way. Now, I don't know where that footage came from.
Well, he launched a buoy.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Did I miss it? I must have missed it.
Okay. He launched a buoy, and the
yeah.
last thing that it caught was his ship being attacked.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and they recovered the buoy.
They recovered the buoy. If you look at what I've got up right now,
the only question is, how did it get from Babylon 5 out into the general?
It was found by IS or whatever it is.
Oh, you think so? I assumed it would be.
No, they said they found it.
No, a ship found it in hyperspace. because it had a beacon on it.
Okay, sorry, that's my mistake. I missed.
And it was given
I
to
missed
ISU.
that.
I assumed the fighters
he-
picked it up on their way back and they brought it to
he
Babylon 5 and
did.
somehow it was released there.
So he did tack on. There is a tracking beacon on the shadow ship.
Mm.
I don't
He
think
did
so.
say yes. He did.
Yep, he did.
He launched the beacon, and then launched the drone with the footage.
Okay.
With it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll watch it
So-
again. I just assumed he said launch beacon, and that was the beacon with all the information of what.
No,
that
no,
that
no.
beacon
Tracking
was a pod or whatever for
he
the
launched
people
the
to pick up.
tracker and then sent the basically almost like a black box that he had ejected in a way because he knew he was going to die.
Now, take it off to the gentleman that got arrested, the shopkeeper. Did anybody read the poster?
The one that said for
What, closing the shop?
closed for sedition.
Well, closed by the Ministry of Peace for
Pending allegations of
pending
sedition.
allegations of sedition. Yeah.
Yep.
And the background of the poster, it says Ministry of Peace.
Yeah.
And then the Night Watch logo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that from here on, you have to pay attention to these posters because basically, this is the point of view. And I'm saying this. What the hell is
I
going
did
on
pay
back home?
attention to it.
Remember,
if this is happening on Babylon 5 this far out, what's going on Earth?
What's going on Earth? What's going on Mars? Proxima 3? What's going on all the Earth colonies?
Mm-hmm.
This is almost a resemblance of the V, the TV series. If you remember V, the TV series, where they put the posters up with all the aliens, they say, "No, we're here to help you."
No, the visitors are our friends.
Yeah, exactly. Because it almost looks like it in a way. It almost it has a V in there. If you look at that poster.
Well, and that goes back to the Nazi Germany allegory, right? Because that's what V is. V is the same kind of thing. Is you have this group that comes to power, and you have the people, the brown shirts and the Hitler Youth, and the visitors' friends groups that come into power with them, and you have the collaborators, and it's a parallel to World War II. The thing is, nowadays, the sad part is that the people that are out there now, the younger people, have no historical reference to serve as a framework for any of this anymore. We are far enough removed from World War II that allegory gets lost, which is kind of sad, because at that point, history is going to repeat itself, and then we're going to be back here again.
Well, we're already seeing. I don't know if it's the 30s, but we're definitely seeing stuff like that happen today.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question. We're repeating the Weimar Republic right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let me talk about a little bit about Ivanova's final.
With the menorah and all that.
Yeah. This is just I found this. It's not mine. So this is interesting here. In Orthodox Jewish tradition, Hanukkah celebrates both the victory over the conquerors of Jerusalem and the victory of those who want to uphold traditional values over those who want to assimilate with the enemy. An internal struggle, which is also arguably the main theme of the episode. So the battle between traditional values and those who want to assimilate with the enemy. I thought that's kind of an interesting.
It's an interesting take. Yeah, I don't know if I agree completely with that being what he was trying to do. Symbolically, with the whole lighting the menorah and all that, it's supposed to represent the light overcoming the darkness, and again, in the commentary, he said that he definitely wanted that to stand out. That this is the light. She's in a dark room, but she's lighting the menorah, and it's that light in the darkness that's eventually going to win out in the end. It's the hope.
In fact, curious that a piece of that speech that Amado says in the is will be used in the season 3 opening credits for the rest of season 3.
Cam, did we talk anything about? We kind of mentioned it. The discussion of the whole, Kosh giving out his, letting it be known who he is versus not. I think, they initially spoke episodes ago that, hey, we still want to keep this secret.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, how does that affect? How does that affect the whole? How is this going to affect the shadows? Might be interesting, as well as, but also let me just sort of outline the other side, which is that is this might be seen as from the other races as sort of a divine blessing from Kosh, or the fact that Babylon 5 is blessed, or Sheridan, or it could serve as a beacon of hope for many of the other races.
Yeah, we did mention that the Drazi and the Narn in the scene where Londo said that he saw nothing. They were talking about it. They explicitly said, "Yeah, this place is blessed." So this was an inspirational thing for a lot of people. Apparently, like Sheridan said, "Oh, the whole station is abuzz, about this." Now, I don't have the impression that they actually know it was Kosh. I don't. I think that part remains hidden, but they did. There was a reference to the shadows know this. They're going to recognize.
They're going to know.
And know that they are. They've overtly acted now. We haven't seen much overt action from the Vorlons, and now they've talked about. I think what you were asking about, Snob, is they were like, yeah, we can't let them know that we're what we know and that we're acting, and now that's been blown. At least partially.
Kosh, maybe only partially. Kosh exposing himself, who he is, to, might not, they might not take that as, oh, okay, they know everything we're up to, and they already know the Vorlons are there because they've had
run-ins with them
back and forth between Kosh and Morton earlier, fight in the hallway or whatever it was. But so it is kind of I thought that was kind of interesting that they're trying. Only an episode or two ago they're talking about, hey, we want to keep this quiet, and now Kosh.
But Delenn kind of alluded to that. It's like she, Delenn knew the gravity of this, and that's why she appealed to Kosh. She's like, well, we've got two bad choices here. You have to do something, and we know there's going to be a cost to that, or Sheridan's dead. It's
Sheridan and Delenn
are we're either ready or we're not at this point.
Yeah, they're the two big people in this whole, at least the non-Vorlon aspect of fighting this war. I mean, you lose one of your two main guys, it could be pretty bad, right?
But you got to ask yourself now. Kosh exposed himself to everybody, and everybody says, "Oh, it's a blessing! It's a blessing. This place has been blessed." What generally happens when there are miracles, and even in our world? What tendency that happens?
I'm not sure what you're trying to.
No, I don't. Yeah,
lots of things. People show up and they want to buy stuff.
I think you got crusade.
I want my T-shirt.
All kinds of stuff.
You got people who show up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's people
wanting
are going
to see the
pilgrimage.
miracle.
There's going to be a pilgrimage to the Zen Garden.
Now, is that going to happen? And we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait and see. But generally, you hear how they say it. And
it's going to spread. It's going to spread. And Sheridan,
obviously,
Sheridan was touched. That's going to get out that Sheridan was touched by one of these beings. So he must be a chosen of whatever beings they are. And obviously, this is going to cause issues, I'm sure, back in Earthdom as well.
Well, it just means that Sheridan is the emissary.
Well, yeah, right. It also means that they're going to have a difficult time just yanking him out of there too. Because crap, now all these other aliens are going to be,
Well, I think we're supposed to understand that this unintentionally is going to be an escalation now, and Ivanova's speech, talking about that. I mean, she's talking about it in many ways. She's talking something about what happened. Again, the thing with Centauri and everything has failed, but it's also kind of foreshadowing a little bit. It's like this is they didn't want to do this. This is going to lead to a response.
Yeah, Ivanova's speech lays it all out pretty much.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I thought that was really I really liked that whole epilogue, and the way they did it. I thought that was
big
pretty
summary
good.
of the end of the season,
Yeah.
I think, and kind of a hint as to what's up next.
Right.
Did you notice, by the way, what happened to Kefir?
Other than being dead.
Well,
He's
that's
dead,
an interesting.
Jim.
It wasn't just that his ship exploded. Before his ship exploded, he melted.
Well, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure
I
that
saw
we
that.
didn't
Oh, he
actually see
melted.
him.
No, he melted.
No, he
Yeah,
just
it looked like
screams and
some
they
sort of
cut.
melting.
I
Yeah,
thought he screams and then they
it's
just cut.
subtle. It's subtle, but you can see something happen to him behind the screen of his helmet.
All right, I have to watch that closely.
He
'cause
went
I
all
just-
Raiders
I
of the
wasn't
Lost
sure if
Ark?
he was. I
That's
wasn't
the
sure
exact.
if he was
That's the
dead.
exact term that was used in the commentary by JMS.
Oh,
Yeah.
He melted. By the way, the actor did not know. Did not know that he was dead. He thought he was just injured. They did
all
not
right.
tell him.
You
They
tell him
wanted
he's
to
dead.
continue.
I was initially thought, perhaps. I mean, it seems like he might be dead, but maybe he's not. But I didn't notice the melting thing.
Yeah, he actually you can see him kind of melting, and he was playing it up because he thought he was getting injured, but and maybe this is something that we could talk about more in the next show, but in the season wrap up. But one of the things that was brought up is Kefir was forced that character type, that archetype character was forced upon JMS by Warner Brothers. He did not want. He did not want a hotshot pilot.
clearly, because if we're looking at this, we I think we joked about it when we were talking about first season, and now that you guys have seen it, the arrival and departure of Kefir, very underutilized character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Opening credit
Yes, he
character
was.
that basically had one thing that really happened with him.
Yeah, he basically came to say that he never thought that archetype worked, and he said, "I'll kill him." He hated that kind of character. He said, "I'm going to wind up killing him," and he did. and at this point in the season, I believe the previous commentary on the other show, or the other episode where he had done the commentary. He had alluded to that at basically midpoint in season 2 is when Warner Brothers just kind of let them have complete control and kind of took their reins off and said, "Okay, you guys are making a go. This show is successful. You can do whatever." And they kind of stopped paying attention. The Eye of Sauron was off of them at that point. And so he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm going to kill this character now." but he hated the stereotypes, which is ironic because he tends to lean into a lot of stereotypes.
Well, you know what? That's disappointing. Well, this is, by the way, just personal commentary. Listening to commentary, not always good. Not always a good thing.
In agreements.
Yeah. So,
Okay, I don't hear you, Cam. La. No.
well, okay. So, how about just a suggestion? How about you make him into something else then? Why don't you make him into something interesting? He's an officer. It's like, oh yeah, he's a pilot or whatever. Guess what? So was Sinclair. How about you move him up to something else? Work him into it.
Yeah,
but just kill him off.
Sinclair wasn't a pilot when we first met him, though.
Yeah,
sure, but in his story he was. So what I'm saying is, within this world, it is not unreasonable for a pilot to move up to a different position,
Make him
including
a
command.
CAG or make him a
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You could have done things with him, is my point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, okay, if you got your nose out of joint because they wanted a certain character in there, and you basically spike the character, well, you're kind of an asshole then. Sorry,
And I to be honest, I've met some hotshot pilot types, and he didn't really fit the bill. Like, they didn't play him that way very
Yeah,
much
he was
at
kind of
all.
a mild.
He was, he was very much like, oh, I mean, even in this episode, he goes, talking to the other guy, and they're like, oh, you guys call us names, and you insult us. And he's like, hey, yeah, I'm not like that. So he is anything but the typical hotshot pilot. He's very much far removed from that. Much more thoughtful. And
yeah, in this very episode, they demonstrated that, because the other guy was like, "Oh, you guys are making fun of us." He's like, "No, man, I respect you guys doing the job."
And I'd be hard pressed to think of anything in this season where he came across as that at all. I can't think of anything offhand.
I could think of 3 things off the top of my head that they could have done with that character.
All right. Anyway, so shall we start to
just stuff to get the juices going for the next episode? I think I'm gonna go back and watch all the commentaries that have been so far, and kind of work on kind of a list of stuff to talk about. So I think that would be interesting.
All right, let's head to finishing up.
Okay. You want me to go first?
No.
No, I think we've covered everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Jason, do you want to go first? Your final thoughts on the episode. Give it a rating if you want.
Give
pretty
it a rating.
solid.
1 minute.
I'd say 8 out of 10. I think the Sheridan floating through the low gravity probably could have been baked a little bit more in the effects, but other than that, it's a pretty solid episode. So no complaint. The Kefir thing, it makes sense now. If Straczynski didn't like the character, why he didn't use him so much.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of wondering about that throughout the season. I was like, they introduced this guy and then they don't do anything with him. But that makes sense now. But I'll be interested to see what happens in season 3. I've got a couple of ideas of where I think it's going to go, but we'll see. As some of that's just based on peripheral. Overall, I think it's pretty good end to the war and beginning of the war. So we'll see.
Man.
Good.
Well, I give it a little bit more higher, 9.5. For the reason is there's a lot to unwrap in this episode, and basically you looking to the perspectives of several things. You have the Centauri moving ahead and trying to take over other places in the galaxy. You have the Ministry of Peace and Night Watch showing up, showing their hand. What's going on back on Earth? You have the non-cruiser showing up, in the background, trying to find sanctuary, and then the Centauri find out, and it turns into a massive firefight. And then the one of the biggest things is to find out that Kosh has influenced other worlds by looking as a deity to all these beings. And like I said before, when miracles happen, what happens next? A massive pilgrimage comes. So is this what's going to be coming for season 3? That's the question of the year. And then you have to ask yourself at this point, but what of the shadows? What of the shadows?
Jeff.
Great episode. I don't think it was a perfect 10. Probably 9.5. Yeah, maybe even 9.75, 9 3/4. Why not? I think there was a lot of things that were tried to be tied up in this, and a lot of new things were kind of like, okay, now we've tied up all these loose ends here, and now here's your next bunch. We're just kind of throwing it out there. There's obviously a lot more that's gonna happen. I think a lot of those crumbs were led up to, and the short segment at the end where she kind of prologues what happens after the events that we've seen, and are kind of planting those seeds for the next season. And not to keep on quoting him, but to answer what Jason said, he said multiple times, I should have had a fan. We should have had fans on him so his hair moved. but he did also equate him to being a pinata and saying there were times that they wanted to just take bats and start taking swings at him when he was hanging from the wires. But yeah, overall, really, really good episode. Probably one of the best, if not the best in the season. I think, and I think they did good. So there's a lot of things to talk about going further. I'm looking forward to seeing. I still don't think Kosh is the only Vorlon. I think the Vorlons. I think there's multiple Vorlons. Just like there's multiple shadows. I did like how he, the different races, saw them in their own likeness, which kind of caters into the whole concept of a species being created in the image of their creator, and so that would make sense that whether they're a deity or they're an angelic type being, So looking forward to the next season. I want to start watching it now, but I'm going to hold back. So
Cam.
I really like the episode. I'd say it's probably a 9. There were some of the segments, like the fight and everything, where the pacing was really excellent, and I thought it really did that great. And some of even though some of the stuff was heavy-handed, I liked the themes that came through in this. I think the episode suffered a little bit from maybe it seemed like it was like, oh wait, we've got to shove all this stuff in here at this last episode because we didn't do it when we probably should have it another place or part or maybe or something. So I think it was trying to do a little too much. But what they did do, I thought was all good. Meaning these were important points that were being made throughout. So it delivered on the stuff that I like. So I can't say anything bad about it. I wouldn't say it's the best episode of the season though. But it is very good. So
which one do you think, or do you want to hold that for next week?
Talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll think about it.
All right. Yeah. Mine, I'm going to echo what some of what Cam says here too. Very good episode. I enjoyed it. I do think it, there was a little bit of shoving it all in there, but I didn't really feel it pulled away from the episode at all. Excellently done. I don't really have any complaints about it. I would give it in the high, the A level stuff. I'd have to think. I'm trying to think of if there was a better episode this season. I'll have to think about that and talk about it next week. But definitely, in the top 3 at least, if not the best episodes. I'll have to look back. Good all around. Great and a good final episode to a season. Very much well done that way.
It leaves us on a cliffhanger, that's for sure. I mean, and it's not the typical type of cliffhanger. So
yeah, a little bit of cliffhanger, yeah, somewhat, but not like a
not that we know that on the next episode that something is gonna, we've got to get that resolution type of thing. We know that we're in for another trip.
All right. Okay, let me just real quick. We'll do the trivia questions, and then we'll guest promos, and we'll get out of here. So, trivia questions for next episode. Following, think about these and give us your answers. What race is Zeta Squadron training to fight? Which government department is Lance associated with? What is the name of the captain of the Narn cruiser? What does Ivanova give Sheridan for Christmas? And who does the Centauri warship fire on first? All right, so those answers will be available next episode. Next episode, we'll be doing our final wrap-up of the season. Those tend to go a little long, so, we went pretty long today, 3 hours. Those tend to be a little bit longer, like 3 hours as well. So, just strap yourselves in. Yeah. All right.
Maybe start an hour earlier.
We could think about that. Anybody guest promos? 30 seconds, real quick, so we can end off.
Taco
Jason.
Thursday tomorrow,
Oh,
6 p.m.
Madman.
Eastern, right here on YouTube. Japanese striking back against censorship while Russia begins to censor even more anime and manga. We'll be talking about that in tomorrow's video.
Interesting. All right, Jason.
Tomorrow, news wrap up, headlines, and commentary. Tonight, I had a Deep Space Mines. Larry Nemechek was on talking about Trekland and his Outpost 47 anniversary tomorrow. So that's up live now. And I think we'll probably have Open Line Friday.
Oh, all right. Bringing that back.
Maybe.
Jeff.
Oh, well, let's see. I'm still working on putting some stuff together for Jason, but I've got a couple of things going on. You could check out my channel if you want. I got a couple of things up there. Tennessee Tabletop Tavern. And that's pretty much all I've done lately. Trying to get some things in the running for everybody. So, but looking forward to next week. And like I said, I think we can have a great discussion on a bunch of things, for the past season. So,
all right, Cam.
Sunday, 11 p.m. Eastern, Top Lofty Lounge, where we will continue our acrimonious debate on various is it sci-fi sort of topics regarding a bunch of movies that Snob made a list of. We had a good discussion last Sunday, so hope you'll tune in for that.
Hopefully no one gets injured, physically beaten or anything like that, right? Right on. Thanks for that. Please try to hit the like and subscribe button when you're on your way out. If you haven't already, helps us with the algorithm, sorts us out. We appreciate it. On this show, just a reminder, next week will be the wrap-up show. We're going to be talking about all of season 2, our favorite episodes, a bunch of different questions. Those tend to go long, like I said. Expect about the 3-hour mark. And after that, and we'll be getting on some of the guests that have been on during the season. Some of our guests like Madman and Dean, we're going to ask them to come in at some point during the show and give their takes as well. And then after that, it's the day before American Thanksgiving. So we're going to we're not going to start on season 3. We're going to do, I'm not sure how many people are available for it. We're going to have a little bit of an open line. Anybody who wants to come on, I'll put the thing in the chat and everybody can come on and ask us questions, tell us about what they think about season 2 or season 1.
Tell us why we're wrong. Call us out.
Exactly. Try to avoid spoilers, though. We want to try to avoid spoilers. All right. So that's what's coming up. That's about all I have to go. I think that's it. Thanks, everybody, for coming up. Thanks to the panel for coming out today for this somewhat longer show. And we will see you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.
Thanks.